It is football, it's all good humour, and we're live between now and 4 o'clock. So good afternoon, welcome along. It is a warm mid-August Sunday afternoon, and the Premier League is kicking off again. 35 days after winning the Club World Cup, after an 11-month season which started on the 18th of August last year, Chelsea are back in action. They are hosting Crystal Palace, who curtain lifted the season, even though the Football League had started the week before, last weekend in the Community Shield at Anfield, at Wembley, against the Anfield League champions, and Palace winning on penalties. Palace make just one change from that team for this afternoon's encounter. Kamada dropping out of the starting lineup, having picked up a painful knee issue at Wembley, to be replaced by Will Hughes. Go through the full lineup in a moment. As far as Chelsea, their last outing was in that Club World Cup final. Malo Gusto drops out of the starting lineup. But that is actually the only change. Robert Sanchez between the sticks. Two changes. Colwell dropping out as well. Achapong, Chalobah, Cucurella the back four. Moises Caicedo and Enzo Fernandez in front of them. Then it's Pedro Neto, Cole Palmer and Jamie Gittins, the other change, supporting João Pedro up top for Palace. And it has been a little bit of consternation from the fans. Not a lot of options to make too many changes for Oliver Glasner. Well, why fix it if it ain't broke, I suppose. Dean Henderson in goal, Chris Richards, Maxence Lacroix and Mark Guehi the back three. Daniel Munoz, Will Hughes, Adam Wharton and Tyreek Mitchell, with Ismaila Sarr and Eberechi Eze supporting Jean-Philippe Mateta, last season's top scorer, up top. Some suggestion that maybe Eberechi Eze would be left out because his future is being speculated about. Mark Guehi's future is also certainly being discussed. Even Jean-Philippe Mateta, with the transfer window still got 2 weeks, with having 2 weeks to run, is a name that occasionally gets bandied around. Even today, Palace fans will hate me for saying this, Dean Henderson was suggested by someone else in the press box as a player who could interest clubs. That, Steve Brown, is the problem with success.
Success and a window that doesn't shut till after the season started. So yeah, problematic, particularly if you've got players, and we've had this discussion many times, that you know, see life-changing moves, and people go, well, they're all playing in the Premier League. But look, ambition is, you know, and there are some touted out there, you know, potential Liverpool signings, you know, which is the Premier League winners. And you know, if you go into a game and you've got half an hour making a transfer to Liverpool by the end of this window, I always think that's going to have an impact on performance. I really do. You know, that thunderous challenge you might have to make to, you know, to get yourself on top of an opponent. I always think you're probably not going to go into that as fearsome as you would if you didn't have a move to one of the top 3-4 clubs in the country coming up. But it is what it is. It's modern day football. It's how it's been for a very long time, and you have to manage those situations as a manager and as a player.
Good afternoon to you, by the way, Steve. That was very informal way of introducing you in it, but it's
always a good afternoon, Phil, when we're together at football.
It's certainly going to be an interesting one. Just very briefly, maybe not a surprise, Palace aren't going to change it much when it comes to their lineup. Kamada started last week, not available with a bit of knee pain. They've got one or two players who are out longer term. Eddie Nketiah, Doucouré out with his knee problem as well. For Chelsea, more signings made, a number of them made for the Club World Cup, in which they competed in, and they were allowed, there was a little brief window opening for teams to make signings, and they certainly capitalised on that and went and won the thing. How are they going to be as a group? I mean, what a weird year. So they play virtually an 11-month season. There was a little bit of a gap between the end of the season and the Club World Cup, but not much.
No.
Then suddenly they play this 7 games in the United States in the heat. They win it, which, you know, is a good thing. Then they have a 5-week break, and now they're back into this again. What does that do for your traditional sort of feelings of rest and recovery?
I think they're in uncharted territory as well, because I'm told 3 of those 5 weeks they were given off to go and have a holiday. So literally been back 2 weeks. Now, under normal circumstances, you say that can't work. 2 weeks back before the first Premier League game. But if you're only finishing 5 weeks ago and you're in competition, these guys are in such good physical condition that I think it's like my brain saying it was absolutely right to give them 3 weeks off and go on holiday.
Yeah.
Like 2 weeks preparation is enough to build up to your first league game, in my opinion. But like you said, you've got players going, players coming in. I think they've spent somewhere in the region of 260 million and 190's gone out. So the net spend's around 70 mil, something like that.
Yeah.
But there's lots of bodies changing in that, in that dressing room, and they've got to make the adjustment. And that's where the 2 weeks probably isn't enough. But I think it's vitally important that the Chelsea players had that rest. That's a brutal season that they've just encountered, and a successful one from their perspective. But you're back in for 2 weeks and you're off and running again, and that is a very, very quick turnaround. It
is successful, and maybe that would be the plus is that they have now proven this group with additions that have come in, and the likes of João Pedro and Liam Delap and players that they've been signing are good acquisitions, but they're also now a team and a club who know how to win things again, because after that whole needing to sell, Roman Abramovich having to get out of the club, Todd Boehly and his financial group coming into the club, there was a period of time where it was, dare I say, chaotic.
Messy, really, really messy.
And Enzo Maresca's come in, and I think Poch was getting things sorted. Maresca's come in, steadied things down, finished fourth, primary target in the league, won a trophy, won another trophy. This group now can call themselves winners.
They can, and you forgot the period of Graham Potter coming in, which was really chaotic and messy, and they've gone from 12th to 6th to 4th. So there's progression being made, and within that 4th place is Champions League football, which they haven't had for a few years. Within that is a World Cup win. Within that is a European win. So winning is a fantastic habit. Their form here at the back end of last season was extraordinary. So it looks like after that very chaotic change of ownership and all the spend in those initial months and the 10-year contracts and God knows what else was flying out, where we were looking in going, this is madness. There's a settling period now, and they've got a manager that looks like he's going to be here for a little while. They look like they don't want to change managers. If you look at their squad in terms of what they've retained, they're one of the youngest squads, aren't they? I think playing in the Premier League. Most of their signings, I don't think they sign a player now over the age of 30. So most of their signings are very young and coachable, and in terms of assets, building assets over a couple of years. If you get a winning culture while you're doing that, those assets increase, obviously. So it looks like the model, which we were kind of frowning about in the early months, and
there was a lot.
Because it was something we'd never seen before. 10-year deals and flying around suddenly is settling down into a plan. And that's encouraging, I think. I think it'd be encouraging for the supporters and encouraging for everybody in and around Chelsea Football Club.
Absolutely, and for Crystal Palace, famous day winning the FA Cup, their first major bit of silverware.
As a Charlton player, it's the only thing we had over them, really, was an FA Cup win.
Not anymore.
Had
a great day, and then to go and win the Community Shield last weekend against Liverpool.
Very much on the up, and after a very, very tricky start to last season, where I think it was you'll know better than me, but like 1 win in 12 or 13 really or something, slow, and they were struggling.
They went to Ipswich beginning of December, and there was all sorts of speculation about Ollie Glasner.
And what a turnaround! He came in at the back end of the season before and did terrific. The change was immediate, and they looked like a cracking team towards the end of the previous season. The start, you sort of left frowning a little bit. What's happened there? But they stuck with him, turned it round, and obviously have gone on from strength to strength. Winning the FA Cup against Man City, who were heavy favourites, was a huge achievement, and then turning around and beating the Premier League champions in the Community Shield is testament to where he's got this team. I mean, they've done no business by the looks of it. I know you said there's 3 or 4, being touted around, but they've done one bit of business in the window. I was expecting a little bit more.
I mean, Borna Sosa's come in, but not a lot else, and they are, there's the likes of Jez Rantzak. He's been on loan for the last couple of seasons. He's sitting on the bench. Odson Edouard, who's been a persona non grata, out on loan last season. He's sitting on the bench. He's a player that they can use, but there's a lot of chat, and I can tell you from the Crystal Palace fans, they're a little bit concerned about. They're not necessarily that they sort of thinking. I think they understand the financial situation at Crystal Palace.
Right.
They know that Steve Parish is not a multi-billionaire. They know that there's new ownership coming in, but they're also aware that they're a club who try and run themselves sensibly. But there is also a little bit of concern about the lack of movement, and maybe there's going to be outs to have to bring in. There was definitely some movement with Brentford, not just with players. Bryan Mbeumo's gone, Christian Norgaard's gone, Mark Flecken's gone, but also in the dugout. Thomas Frank's gone. He started life at Tottenham Hotspur with a almost Super Cup win and then victory on the opening day of the season. Keith Andrews is now in charge of Brentford, having taken over. He was the set-piece coach last year, although he was brought in as a coach and then they used him as a set-piece coach, as opposed to saying he's a specific set-piece coach, and that's what his job's going to be. They're away at Nottingham Forest today, who are in the Europa League rather than the Europa Conference League, and watching this one for us is Mark Taylor.
Having ended last season with a game in the West Midlands, Brentford opened the new campaign in the East Midlands with a trip to the City Ground. It's the first game in charge for the Bees' new head coach, Keith Andrews, who will hope to prove himself in this, his first job as a head coach. And what a start for him. A match against a Forest side that finished 7th last season after spending the previous 2 campaigns battling against the threat of relegation. For the Bees, it's all change, with Mark Flecken, Christian Norgaard and Bryan Mbeumo all having left, and Johan Wissa not considered for today. Praveen Kelleher makes his debut in goal, and Anthony Milambo is given his first start in midfield. Jordan Henderson is among the Brentford subs. 10th last season, the Bees will hope that the new era and life under a new head coach will start positively today.
Very interesting team news actually, Mark, in the fact that Fabio Carvalho gets the nod ahead of Kevin Schade, considering how Schade finished the season last season, and Fabio Carvalho didn't really impress last season, but you know, Brentford have this really interesting way of developing and players becoming better actually over time. Igor Thiago, who was injured for most of last season, leading the line, that will be interesting as well, and we expected that we knew that there'd be no Johan Wissa because of this link to Newcastle United. What about Nottingham Forest then? In European football for so long in the top 4, but we all suspected they'd drop out of it, and they did. We thought they'd be Conference League football. It's Europa League football. I don't know what we're going to make of Nottingham Forest this year.
Well, firstly, let's say they surprised a lot of people, I think, last season at how well they fared. The 2 previous campaigns had seen them finish 16th and 17th in the table, and last season they weren't far away from Champions League qualification, losing of course to Chelsea on that final day. Off the field, they've heard they will now take part in the Europa League, and presumably to do that well they'll need to make a few more signings. There's been a bit of frustration here at the City Ground at the lack of movement in the transfer market. Dan Ndoye has arrived from Boulogne, a forward who can play out wide as well, and they've now signed Amari Hutchinson from Ipswich, one of the England under-21 standout performers, I thought, in the Euros just gone. So there is things are starting to happen here, but I think they'll need to augment those new signings with another few signings, I think, if they're going to compete as well this season in the Premier League as they did last season. It may well be with the European football that their Premier League football just suffers a bit. Time will tell.
We'll have to wait and see. And for Brentford, obviously Ouattara's just signed from Bournemouth, club record. I mean, a massive jump in the club record fee that's been paid out, almost double the club record fee. Not involved today, but there'll be a level of excitement about how he can be involved. And a quick look at the bench, there's some interesting, a bit like Palace really, a look at the bench. Onyeka sent out on loan last year, he's back. Mads Roersleff is back. We remind ourselves, of course, when there was a lot of Mads playing for Brentford, Steve, and they used to joke, you don't have to be Mads to work here, but it helps, Mark. But there are, you know, it's interesting to see that what is available on the bench for Keith Andrews, and your challenge today really, Mark, is to see whether you notice a Keith Andrews sort of stamp on the game or not.
That's right, it will be interesting to see whether the style is different to what we would expect from Brentford. You would suspect that having lost some key players going forward, certainly Bryan Mbeumo's gone, and who knows what will happen with Johan Wissa. You suspect that things may change and maybe Brentford become a little bit more reserved in their attacking approach. I'm not sure. We'll see.
We certainly will. Mark Taylor, thank you very much indeed. Steve, so here we go, here's one for you. So I'm going to make a direct comparison between Brentford and your former club. So Charlton were a really stable football club under Richard Murray, Peter Varney and Alan Kirbishley. I know Steve Gritt was there as a co-manager to begin with, but Curbs took it on. Got into the Premier League under Curbs, stabilised in the Premier League under the Curbs, had 6 good years in the Premier League under Curbs. Alan moved on. In the end, he didn't move anywhere initially, but then went to West Ham. Do you see a comparison between Charlton of 20 years ago almost and Brentford of now, in that there was a lot of stability at Brentford? Obviously Matthew Benham, Thomas Frank, Phil Giles behind the scene. Benham and Giles are still there. Thomas has moved on. A new coach has come in, but he was in the system, unlike Ian Dowie, who wasn't in the Charlton system, who they replaced Alan Kirbishley with at Charlton all those years ago.
Yeah, so the key to it is how quickly the new manager can stabilise the team and get results, because what I can tell you is it takes an awful amount of time to build something, and I've seen it with my own eyes unpick itself within 6 months, because then what happens is decision-making process isn't planned, it's suddenly irrational. So let's say Brentford are in the bottom 3 after 10 games, there may be a change of manager. If you get that change of manager wrong, which Charlton did, you're changing manager again within...
And again.
And again and again, and then what happens is if you get relegated out of the Premier League, you lose your best players, you're stuck with all the players on high wages that other clubs don't want, and it really can unpick itself within a season, and you've spent 10 years building it up. I hope that's not the case, but what happens is when something becomes unplanned, you put Keith in charge. If he does a great job, everything will be stable. You continue with your plan, your process. If they're in the bottom 3 and have to make a change, and you get that change wrong, that's when it really accelerates quite quickly.
We'll just remind ourselves that Les Reed came in for a month, got sacked on Christmas Eve.
He did,
and then Alan Pardew came in, and the club got relegated.
And
it wasn't necessarily Pardew; they were in a decline by that point.
Not really, but the second season was the one in the Championship. We got left with all the players that nobody else wanted, and you were forced to then bring in another 10 players that probably didn't gel and fit in, and before you know it, you're relegated out of the Championship. It was a double whammy. Never recovered.
And Phil Parkinson tried to do what he could, but it was very difficult for him. He of course is in the Championship again with Wrexham, who've lost back-to-back games in the Championship at the start of the season. Mark Taylor mentioned...
Had to get that in, didn't you, today?
I did. Mark Taylor mentioned Nottingham Forest being in the Europa League, not the Europa Conference League. Crystal Palace should have been in the Europa League because of winning the FA Cup, but ownership issues meant that UEFA put them into the 3rd tier, because the previous owner, or the previous majority stakeholder, John Textor, had not moved his shares on. He has now, by the way. They took it all the way to the Court for Arbitration in Sport. The hearing was just over a week ago. The result came through on Monday to say that the judgment from UEFA was going to be upheld, and Crystal Palace remain in the Europa Conference League. Here's the thoughts of the Eagles manager, Oliver Glasner.
We knew it can face this verdict, and now we prepare for this week. We prepared for Chelsea, and on Monday we will start preparing for Fredrikstad. Conference League it's still the first time Crystal Palace plays European football, and it's the big goal of all of us to qualify for the group stage. And so again, since Monday evening, we are looking forward to play European competition.
Steve, it feels unfair. I feel for the fans, I feel for the players and Oliver Glasner, I feel for everyone in the club. The argument is rules, right? And the deadline for not having dual ownership was the 1st of March. There are those who say, but Man City or other clubs have dual ownership situations, but they've already worked out how they can get around
lawyers,
that. There are always loopholes, aren't there? So they've got around it. I feel for the fans. Oli Glasner's now saying we've just got to take what we've got and go with it. So Fredrikstad, Thursday night, jobs are good. And
that's all you can do. So as a manager, his focus is in preparing a team for whatever he faces, and you can't reverse the situation. You can fight and fight and fight, but once the decision is made, the focus just purely becomes on how we progress in that competition, because they will want to go, like West Ham did, to as far as they can in that competition, and by sheer fact they're a Premier League side, you expect them to go to the latter stages. It might not be the case, but that's what you would expect on paper. But once a decision is made, the club and the manager and the fans, to a degree, as much as you sympathise, need to focus on what's in front of them, and that start to win those games as quickly as they can.
Yeah, it still feels harsh, and I still think that Crystal Palace had to play, the deadline was 1st of March, they still had to play 4 cup ties before they won the cup. They played Millwall on the 1st of March, away at Fulham, against Villa in the semi-final, and beat Man City. How do you know? But
we don't
know that you're going to.
You don't know.
No,
you don't know. And actually, if you're the lawmakers, maybe that's something they've got to actually look at.
Take into account. Take into account. Right, let's talk about Chelsea as well, because we've mentioned it, we've alluded to it. A 5-week break, 3 of them away on holiday, back into the new season. Many of these players will be at a World Cup next summer. They don't get a break. What does Enzo Maresca make about the fact that their team go from an 11-month season, have a month off, and back into a new one?
We guess we are ready, but we need to wait for the real competition to verify that. As you said, that's been quite a short break. We're gonna try to be ready. When I joined the club 1 year ago, the noise around the club was completely different noise compared to now, for many reasons. Now, personally, I always said the same, that for me, I don't like to look in 2 months, in 3 months, in 4 months, because that doesn't exist in football. I like to be focused on Palace. Then in terms of target, my personal target, the target of the team, is to try to improve every day.
Well, the teams are going to be out here very shortly on BBC Radio London, on Total Sport on a Sunday afternoon. Total Sport live from Stamford Bridge. Steve Brown, Enzo Maresca, again, a bit like Oliver Glasner, really. The players, they just have to get on with it. I mean, I feel, we've talked about this so often, that we are threatening burnout for some of our athletes, but they're just going to have to. They just have to go out there and play, right?
Yeah, and the advantage for the clubs at the upper end of the pyramid, they do have deeper squads and more money to have strength in depth. We've said this many times. So, in theory, the amount of money that Chelsea spent, the squads that they have, they should be able to still stay relatively strong with the front 11, even if they get injuries. And that's not the case for the guys lower down the league. But then in general, they're not in European competition and away at World Cup competition. So it's how it works. It's how it is. And yes, look, he could only. I think he's even been on record as saying, I actually don't know how to deal with this. This is unprecedented.
Why would he?
So this is my choice. I'm giving them 3 weeks to go on holiday. I think that's a great choice. Go away with your families. Spend time with your kids and your wife. If you haven't got any of that, go and enjoy yourselves, but relax. And then when we come back as united as a team. We've had a success last year, and we hit the ground running together. And hopefully that's what you're going to see. A team that's had a bit of rest and relaxation, and a team that's united and together and starts on the front foot. But we'll see. Like I said, it's uncharted territory for Chelsea. It's not. I don't think that's happened to anyone in the history of football.
No, I mean, if we roll back 5 years, when we came out of COVID with Project Restart, as it was called, you and I think the first game we did together was sat about
half
10 rows apart from each other at Craven Cottage. That was a bizarre, really bizarre scenario, because there'd been virtually a 3-month break, then we had football, then there was a little break, then there was football back again, and again no one knew how to deal with that. So I mean, I suppose you can just learn and adapt and try and roll with the punches.
Absolutely. And look, 2 weeks to build up to one game is a long time in football. Like, you imagine playing Saturday, Tuesday, Saturday, and you're preparing after the Saturday game for the Tuesday game. You've got 2 days really on a training pitch. 2 weeks is more than enough for a group to build up to a Crystal Palace game. All right, so they've had more than enough time. How do they feel physically? That's the question. Are we going to need to see multiple changes at 60, 70 minutes because that's where they're at physically, or has that smaller break of 5 weeks meant that they haven't lost a lot of fitness and they're absolutely fine? We don't know. We'll wait and see.
Philip Jorgensen, Liam Delap, Dario Oswego, Andre Santos, Gerald Hato, Malo Gusto, Wesley Fofana, Tyreek George and Estevao on the bench for Chelsea. Walter Benitez, Jefferson Lerman, Nathaniel Klein, Romanes, Odson Odward, Bono Sosa, Jez Raksaki, Justin Devaney and Rio Codins on the bench for Crystal Palace. They've set off lots of smoke bombs. Blue is the hue of the air in front of us now. It will dissipate and will become a clear summer's day, late summer, because there's already a slight feel of autumn in the mornings and the evenings. The conkers are starting to grow on the trees, Steve Brown. And I feel sorry to say this, but yeah, we're heading towards shorter days and longer nights. But you know, but the football season's back.
Let's make the most of the
beautiful
time
days like this.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and look, I mean, if you look out, you know, I've had opening days in the Premier League myself, and if you look out and you see that we've got a full stadium, the supporters have turned up in vast numbers, as you'd imagine, for this first fixture. The pitch looks absolutely perfect. There's not a blade of grass out of position, and hopefully we get an entertaining match here. Well, I mean, I think one of the things you can say about this fixture, it goes under the radar. Actually, you forget to mention it is a London derby. This is South versus West. There's a little bit of spice on it. And notoriously, these games normally produce goals for both sides. I hope I haven't cursed it. We're looking for an entertaining game, but I always think the home side are favourites in this instance. They've got an extremely strong record here in recent months. Yeah, and they should be full of confidence after the recent wins. As should Palace, though. I just think home advantage is going to be vital today.
Good atmosphere, good noise inside the stadium here at Stamford Bridge, and a sunny day on Sunday on Total Sport as we stand, and we will very shortly be asked to pay our respects to Diogo Jota and his brother, who sadly lost their lives in such tragic circumstances over the summer. Around the football world, everyone's been paying their respects this weekend. About 30 seconds, Steve, of silence. Just a TV screen playing some sort of tune behind us, I think, if you heard that, but perfectly observed by all the fans inside the stadium. And it will be the blue shirts and shorts of Chelsea who get us off and underway, kicking from right to left, defending the Matthew Harding to our right-hand side and attacking the shed end, which is half occupied by Crystal Palace fans who've travelled down in good numbers and have, I think, a lot of confidence with this team that's in front of them. They may want to see more players being signed. They may be fearful of what's going to happen with the likes of Eberechi Eze. But on this occasion, they'll be looking for a positive start to the season. Headed away over the halfway line, where it'll be met by Achipong, who slides it through to Trevor Chalobah, who had that loan spell, of course, at Crystal Palace. Again, interesting listening to some Palace fans. There's been a bit of debate whether they liked him or whether they thought, yeah, he was all right, but, you know, I wouldn't have him above who we've got in our current squad. I'm not quite sure on that front. But here go Chelsea down the right-hand side, looking to open things up almost immediately over on that far flank with Enzo Fernandez. Cole Palmer picking up possession of the ball halfway inside the Palace half on the right-hand touchline, just in a little bit of shade being cast by the old West Stand over there, which looks resplendent on this sunny Sunday afternoon on Total Sport. And here's Chalobah, and Chelsea already with a bit of possession. Just a little interesting, every year, I don't know whether people like kits or not, Steve, but this Chelsea kit with just some flashes of red and white on it, I think it looks quite classy actually, but maybe Chelsea fans won't agree with me, Steve Brown.
No, I think there'll be traditional fans that won't particularly like that, but there'll be fans, perhaps younger ones, that really like the kit. I think it always divides opinion when a new kit comes out or a slightly different kit comes out.
Caicedo to Palmer, battered away though by Lacroix. He's become a cult hero in the space of 12 months at Crystal Palace. Arrived late in the transfer window last season. Took a little bit of time to get going, but what a big impact he's had. And it's a ball over the top for João Pedro down the right hand side of the Palace penalty area. Just shoved off it by Chris Richards, and the flaxen-haired Will Hughes is able to dab it away towards the halfway line, and Crystal Palace will go and field. Finished 1-1 here, in fact in both games last season, but it was an early trip to Stamford Bridge for Crystal Palace. Eberechi Eze equalising in the second half after Nicholas Jackson had put Chelsea ahead in that game, and then Cucurella goes to ground, no foul, but it's able to open up on the left hand side for Gittins, who gallops down towards the byline, tries to get beyond Richards, who just dabs out a right boot and concedes the first corner kick of the game on BBC Radio London. And it's Chelsea who have it down at the shed end, and it's Marc Cucurella who's getting booed. He's not overly popular with away fans, Marc Cucurella, Steve.
I don't think he cares. He looked completely unflustered, doesn't he, standing on that byline. But it's a very good start from Chelsea on the front foot, driving Crystal Palace back. They've already gone into sort of like a back five across their 18-yard box, and such is the pressure that they've defending a corner.
Oli Glasner is at the edge of his technical area. Here comes the corner, picked into the near post. Cucurella with a flick header, it's off the goal line. That was just dropping in, and it was a brave header right on the post by Ismaila Sarr to clear it, and it's a second successive corner over on the right hand side, but clever little near post flick from Marc Cucurella.
Yeah, it's a corner that's gone out the game a little bit. It's starting to come back in, that little near post flick on. It was a super little flick, I think, from Cucurella. Thought it was going over the crossbar, deceived me actually, and dropped. It was just dropping in the far corner. Super defensive header from Sarr.
Corner on the right hand side, swept near post again, this time looking for Cucurella. Wharton was there, back out wide to the corner taker. Wharton trying to close down on that far touch line, but getting away from him is Pedro Neto, and Palace under the cosh somewhat in the opening few minutes, conceding a third successive corner. Oli Glasner applauds the defensive effort. 0-0.
Yeah, heavy pressure in these early moments. Like I said, it was a very good start from Chelsea. Both centre-halves willing to push into midfield. You've got your left back inverted, and they're manoeuvring the ball very, very well at the moment, Chelsea.
Pedro Neto will take it over on that far touchline. The 25-year-old near post, Cucurella with a flicked header. It's in towards the 6-yard box. Claims for a push. Been waved away. Cole Palmer slowly getting himself to his feet, and here come Palace on the counter-attack. Ismaila Sarr looking to filter it forward to the likes of Eberechi and Mateta, and Chelsea come away with it on the halfway line. Munoz's back heel met in midfield. Wharton and Caicedo bounce into each other. Caicedo's won it back, then Cole Palmer is dispossessed by Ismaila Sarr on the halfway line, and Palace break. Good physicality already in this game.
Yeah, London derby at the end of the day. And that will get both sets of supporters on their feet, getting behind the players. There was 2 or 3 really good, spicy, fair challenge. It was spicy. Eze just spotting Sanchez off his line and going from a shot near the halfway line, which has drifted wide. But there was a moment in that counter-attack, Sarr had a chance to play Eze in on the far side, overhit that. Don't give the defence a chance to intercept, and he should have overhit. I'd rather see it go out of play far side, but give Eze a chance.
Good. There's a head clash on the halfway line. Gittins and Richards both are going to need a little bit of attention after that. I think Richards headed the back of Jamie Gittins' head. It was flicked forward towards João Pedro, who tried to clip it to the boots of Cole Palmer, but this will be a break in play. Referee Darren England closing things down so that treatment can be given, and there's been an early goal at the City Ground. Nottingham Forest Brentford, which way's it gone? Mark Taylor.
It's gone the way of Nottingham Forest. They lead by 1-0. Chris Wood, a corner came over from the left. Wood went for it, the ball came back to him, and he poked the ball past Carvin Kelleher in the Brentford goal. No chance for Kelleher, and Chris Wood has scored for Nottingham Forest. Nottingham Forest 1, Brentford 0.
Well, not the best of starts for Keith Andrews' tenure. with an early goal. They won up there at the City Ground at the back end of last season, did Brentford, Steve, which was their first win up there in top flight football. But
I think it's fair to say, whilst we've got this break, we should concentrate on this game, but I think it's fair to say there is a lot of upheaval over the summer. You've lost, I know we've seen it in the past where they've lost front lines, in terms of players going at the same time. But that's a lot of upheaval.
Yeah.
And
goalkeeper, although Flecken had got better, but Christian Norgard, who was not just the actual captain, but a great leader, a really good leader.
Yeah, good point.
Great golfer as well, Steve, actually.
Is he?
Although
I don't think he's as good as Matty Gordon. He thumped me over the summer, and I've never seen a non-professional golfer hit the ball so far. It was ridiculous.
Yeah, well, Christian Norgard, although he has admitted that since having kids, his golf has gone a little awry, Steve, and we all know about that, don't we?
That did it for me, actually.
Yeah, exactly.
I lost about 10 shots because of that.
And, let's be frank, a lot of money. That's nothing to do with the golf. Both players who received a little bit of treatment for a head knock are fine. They're both back out onto the pitch, Jamie Gittins and Chris Richards, and it'll be a throw-in on that far touchline for Chelsea just inside their own half of the pitch. What we played, 7 minutes gone, 0-0. Lively opener to this game, though, of two teams that have brought it'd be great, wouldn't it, like boxing, if before the game they had their trophies on either side of the pitch in front of the dugouts. This is what we've got, this is what we've got. Let's put it all on the line. One game, winner takes all. Undisputed champion of the world. Steve, could you imagine?
Yeah, I'd want a neutral venue if that was the case.
Okay, fair point. 0-0, early doors. Here is first opportunity for Ismail Islar to try and gallop forward. He gets clipped. So says Darren England, the referee, wearing, what's that, puce? It's not dark enough to be plum.
No, it's definitely not plum.
Puce, shirt, black shorts, black socks for the officials. The fourth official is in a black shirt, Steve. Maybe he didn't bring his puce today. He didn't get the email till late. Did the fourth official, Steve, in front of us here, but I'm never quite sure what they're up to. They get a lot of flack in the ear, don't they? The coaching staff on the sidelines. It's a set-piece coach from Chelsea, by the way, just indicating how they're going to defend this. Steve, former Brentford set-piece coach. They're everywhere, aren't they? Some of them are in charge of Brentford, some of them are working for Chelsea. Here's a free kick for Crystal Palace, which Eberechi Eze is behind, only just inside, maybe a third of the way inside the Chelsea half, over on that left-hand touchline for Palace, attacking from left to right, puts his left arm up in the air, does the former Millwall and Queen's Park Rangers youngster. Eberechi Eze, much speculation about where he may end up at the end of this transfer window. Curls it into the penalty area, flicks forward, Richards downward header, and Sanchez smiles for the camera as he makes that look more acrobatic than it needed to be to gather the ball.
Yeah, I think Richards should do better with that header. It's found its way across him. I think it was a Chelsea player that flicked it on, but it comes to Richards completely unopposed, and he tried to direct it into the right-hand corner.
Here come Palace again, but it's smuggled away by Caicedo. I think it may have been Caicedo's head, actually.
Yeah, it's certainly a Chelsea player, but I think Richards, he's got the timing wrong, because there just was no power in that header, and it's a comfortable save for Sanchez.
Cole Palmer to Caicedo down the right-hand side. Now galloping forward come Chelsea again in the shape of Enzo Fernandez. Then it's pinged into the path of Neto, and then João Pedro guided out wide to the right-hand side, and the cross hit from that far flank is way too heavy, and it will be a Crystal Palace throw-in, would you believe, which Daniel Munoz will take.
Yeah, I mean, it was overhit by a long, long way. You're talking 25 yards in terms of too much power and pace on the cross from Fernandez. But again, it's slick movement, isn't it? They're moving the ball very, very well between the units, Chelsea. I'm impressed by the pace and speed of the passing. £100 million, Enzo Fernandez. 100 and a bit million pounds. Yep. He's a young player of the tournament at a World Cup. Obviously highly valued. Been here now a couple of years at Chelsea. As in the centre circle, Ajipong just rolls it to Reece James. They'll be keeping an eye on wanting him to stay fit. And not only Chelsea wanting him to stay fit, but a former Chelsea manager, Tommy Tuchel. It's been given away, though, by Ajipong. Now into the field is Ismail Islar. He's got a Daniel Munoz run down the right-hand side. He gallops onto it, delivers right-footed, 6-yard box, guided clear, almost as far as Eze. He scrambles for the ball with Cole Palmer. Still has it, Eze. Great skills. It's rolled in towards Will Hughes. Goes to ground on the edge of the penalty area. And somehow
The referee eventually blows for a free kick for a foul on Will Hughes just as Mark Cucurella was clearing the ball.
Yeah, and I think it's inside the 3 seconds, so therefore you'd have to say that's good refereeing, because I do think there was a foul committed on Hughes.
Yeah.
Referee wanted to see if Crystal Palace would get their shot away. They were in a threatening position, so I'd put that down as good refereeing, and he pulled it back. He got a little bit of stick from the home crowd, as you would imagine, but this presents Crystal Palace with a wonderful opportunity.
Eze territory. Cucurella and Will. Well, are they going to? Went down. Will Hughes holding his left shin after that tackle from Mark Cucurella. It's just inside
the. A great deal of contact, haven't it? But it's so easy when you get a replay like we're just seeing, which is slowed down, zoomed in. You know, referee's got to make a decision in real time, and in real time that did look like there was contact and a free kick. It's not an easy job being a referee, Steve, at any level. I've seen a few quite low level games over the last couple of weeks, Steve. FA Cup extra preliminary round, the Devon League, Steve. I've been to a couple of those games. I saw a referee give an indirect free kick for shouting. Someone shouting at an opponent, Steve. Excellent. Brilliant refereeing. Yeah. It's Eze or Hughes stood behind the ball. I would imagine that Will Hughes is told to walk away. Well, by Eberechi Eze. It's quite close. To get it up and down is going to be tough because it's in the D. It's very central. And Eberechi Eze steps back 3, 4, 5 paces. Sizes up quite a big wall. Robert Sanchez is crouched, just trying to guide. There's some pushing and shoving in that wall. Palace are trying to make a nuisance of themselves. Bright pink-booted Eberechi Eze drives it in! What a goal from Eberechi Eze! Wherever he may end up come the end of the transfer window, that is a thunderbolt effort that gives Crystal Palace the lead at Stamford Bridge. Sanchez left absolutely flat-footed, and Eberechi Eze gets his first league goal of the season. It's Chelsea 0, Crystal Palace 1. Unstoppable. I thought he was going to go for a little lift over the wall, try and curl it and get it down, but he went the other way. He went for pure and utter power. Laces through the back of the centre of the ball. Then it's all about accuracy, because when you try and put a little bit more power on that shot, you sometimes forsake or forgive the accuracy. No chance with that strike. Unstoppable it was. Sanchez saw it too late, zipped past him into the back of the net, and that is an incredible strike from Eze. Well, the thing is, Steve, you've got a little screen. You can only see 2/3 of it. I mean, it's gone through Sanchez. And that's what I'm saying. We've got... What's going on here? I don't know what's going on the pitch. There's been a delay and the referee's got over somewhere. But, yeah, look... We've got a screen that's split in two. It's broken, and so we can't see the right-hand side of the goal. But that strike was so... hang on. They're looking at maybe a foul in the build-up to the free kick. Possible foul is what they're looking at, that someone was shoved illegally out of the way. There's definitely some... Caicedo's pushed. That's what they're looking at, Steve. You can't see it on your screen. I will say this. Let's take this incident to one side. There was a big gap to go through. Sanchez, it's gone past him half a yard away from his body. Yeah. Regardless of power. Look. I don't think that is a foul. I don't think it is. But regardless of power. Well, what? Oh, he's given a foul. He's given it as a foul in the wall, which means that the goal does not stand. 14 minutes played, and it's still 0-0, Steve Brown. Does Moises Caicedo just need to be stronger? He steps in front of him rather than into him. So, look, he's given it now, so it's reversed and it's 0-0, and it's a shame because the strike is incredible. But I'll go back to, if I'm a goalkeeper, regardless of pace, if it's within arm stretching distance, there should be contact made. I'm telling you, there's not enough in that for me. There's a bit of movement on that ball as well. They're saying that Mark Guehi shoved Caicedo out of the way, not just a shoulder to shoulder, but literally shoved him to create the hole through which Eberechi Eze threaded the shot. Chelsea are very fortunate, I think, because that was a wonderful strike. It's a shame from Crystal Palace's perspective.
It is, Robert Sanchez, the goalkeeping area is one area that Chelsea fans still talk about a bit of concern.
Yeah, well,
as Achipong manages to take it away on the chest and strides forward, those long legs building up some momentum, and here's Marc Cucurella. So 15 minutes in, we thought it was 1-0 Palace. Eberechi Eze, it's not. Chalk that, doesn't count. It's all been wiped off. Here comes the ball, long ping one down the right hand side, looking for Pedro Neto to chase for Chelsea. Enzo Fernandez winning it back. It's still harem scarum, quite mad scrambly football.
Listen, it's high tempo football at the moment. Yeah.
Let's go back to the City Ground then, shall we, where Nottingham Forest took an early lead against Brentford. Any sign of some fight back, Mark Taylor?
It's still 1-0 to Forest, and the Bees, you have to say, have been forced back on the defensive. Elliot Anderson has had a powerful effort, charged down. He's also tried a volley that didn't come off. He was miles over with that one. Nottingham Forest 1, Brentford 0.
Elliot Anderson, another player that is attracting interest. With 2 weeks of the transfer window to go, Steve, just to let you know that on transfer window day, window shuts, Steve, at 7 o'clock today. Maybe because it's a school night and you don't want to disturb the neighbours, so they're shutting the windows early. A special programme on BBC Radio London on Total Sport that night from 6 till 8, Steve. Looking at all the excitement of the window shutting. I quite like the excitement of the windows opening, Steve, because it means that summer's back, and the windows shutting means that there's going to be the traditional battle for the heating going on. November, I say. Here's Mateta, picked up from Will Hughes, centre midfield, sprays it out wide towards Eze on the left-hand side. It's going to trickle out of play in front of the West Stand at Stamford Bridge. It's still 0-0.
Yeah.
We played 17 and a half minutes on Total Sport on BBC Radio London.
Yeah, it's a shame they didn't make more of that, Palace, because they positioned themselves out of possession brilliantly to force Chelsea into a pass into the centre of the pitch, which went astray. They pounced on it and didn't make the most of it. But if you look at Chelsea, they go into a back three. Reece James sort of drops in from right back to a back three, and Cucurella inverts into almost a central midfield position. And it took Palace a while to get on top of that, but they're on top of it now. The shape out possession's good.
Gittins dispossessed as Palace break into the penalty area with Mateta. He was surrounded by two Chelsea players who managed to scoop the ball clear. Goes back to Guehi, closed down by João Pedro. On the left hand side, here's Eze. Don't quite know why he's being booed. He just took the shot. He wasn't the man pushing Caicedo out of the way, but I suppose there you go. He's been heavily linked with the move to Spurs, isn't he? Eberechi Eze amongst others. Now it's Wharton sliding it in towards Jean-Philippe Mateta. Digs out a shot when he seemed to be on balance. Sanchez makes the save. Chelsea clear their lines towards Gittins.
Yeah.
Who's dispossessed again.
Listen, this has turned into a great game, great contest, if I'm honest with you. Palace now taking advantage, getting on top. That was super play from Wharton. Lovely little turn to get away from his man. A great slide, raw pass down the side of the centre halves into Mateta. One touch out of his feet, great strike. Sanchez didn't know a lot about that. I think it came off his chest rather than a save with the arm. But that's a brilliant move from Crystal Palace. They're starting to get on top.
Yeah, Jean-Philippe Mateta took a little bit of a while to get going last season, but when he did, I think he'd had a funny pre-season because he'd played all the way to the final of the Olympic Games with France in his native country. And here come Chelsea with Neto, slipping it over the halfway line on the left-hand side of the centre circle, and Cucurella. Gittins now approaching the Chelsea penalty area. Overlap from Cucurella. Gittins still has the ball at his feet. Forced backwards, slipping it into Cole Palmer. Back to goal. Moses Caicedo is going to tease it out wide to the left-hand side, and Trevor Chalobah. And Chelsea being forced back. Good defensive shape from Crystal Palace, though, as you'd imagine. Score, but also concede in away games. That was the run. Crystal Palace back end of last season, and when I say away games, away from Selhurst Park, because they did keep a clean sheet at Wembley in May to win the FA Cup. Didn't last weekend, but still won the Community Shield, as says Achipong, and he rolls it to his skipper Reece James. He's put under a little bit of pressure from Jean-Philippe Mateta, and all the way back to Robert Sanchez just outside his 18-yard box.
Yeah, they're just trying to draw Crystal Palace out because they do get 10 players behind the ball in their own half, and it is extremely tight and hard to break down. So it's not the worst thing in the world to go back to your keeper and try and draw Mateta up the pitch and the midfield up the pitch, to then try and play back through the units. But their shape's very, very good out of possession. Whether it's pressing in Chelsea's defensive third, or squeezing that back line up to set sort of the bottom of the D. And if you look at front to back for Crystal Palace, there's no more than 25-30 yards.
Palmer to João Pedro, who approaches the edge of the Palace penalty area, slides it towards Gittins on the left, steps back onto his right boot. Here's Cole Palmer again on the edge of the 18-yard line, swirls it over the top of the bar. I'm not sure if that was a shot or just to try and put it into an area, but it was miss-hit, whichever way you look at it, and it's a goal kick to Palace, and it's 0-0 with 21 played.
Yeah, we were right behind that in terms of the angle, and it did look like he was just trying to curl it into the side netting of Henderson's far post. But yeah, you look at the replay and you think, no, was he trying to cross it? But look, I think that was out of frustration. They've been moving the ball side to side, and they dropped deep, as we said to Sanchez, tried to rebuild that particular move, and it comes to Palmer on the edge, and there was an element of frustration about that. What he tried.
Here's Chalobah, receives a throw in from Marc Cucurella. Both teams finished last season. I mean, it's an obvious thing to say, in good form, but in good form in the Premier League as well. Yeah. Just 2 defeats from the 22nd of February to the end of the season in the domestic league for Chelsea, and likewise 2-13 in the Premier League for Crystal Palace. Both have had funny seasons, really. Palace started slowly but really improved. Chelsea started well, dropped off, and then improved towards the end. As down the right hand side, here they come again with João Pedro, wriggles it into Enzo Fernandez. Cole Palmer flicks it to Fernandez again. It's very congested. Pedro Neto digs out a shot, took a deflection, and Chelsea have a corner. Halfway through the first half on Total Sport Live on BBC Radio London, and it is a corner kick. Oliver Glasner can't quite believe the decision.
Yeah, it clearly took a nick, because no Palace player has protested that. But in that build-up there, I think there was an important run from Pedro, off the shoulder, in behind. We haven't seen that enough. It's only made 2 runs off the shoulder and in behind. And Palace do keep a high line at times to condense the distances between the units. I think Chelsea need to utilise a ball in behind a little bit more to stretch that back line. Crystal Palace's back line, that is.
Here comes the corner kick from the left-hand side from Reece James. Achipong was there to try and win the aerial battle with Jean-Philippe Mateta. And it comes straight off the head of the Chelsea defender and out of play for a goal kick.
Yeah, they are pinpointing that near post area.
They are, aren't they?
Cucurella won 3 flick-ons, and we haven't had a corner since. I'm going to say they've got to protect that area in front of Cucurella, because he's won every single one.
Playing out from the back, goes to Dean Henderson, who lifts it left-footed towards the halfway line. Eze bounces in behind Caicedo, who manages to whip the ball away from him temporarily, and then Sarr and James clatter into each other. Caicedo thought he was fouled. Sarr gets pushed over. Free kick to Crystal Palace, halfway inside the Chelsea half, over towards the left-hand touchline, and Reece James shown a yellow card, and I think that's basically for a trip because Sarr's getting away from him. But Chelsea thought that there was a foul initially on Caicedo. I don't think there's a foul there, Steve.
Yeah, I mean, there's contact, but he didn't give it, and so therefore the game continues, and Reece James made a challenge from the wrong side, so I was getting away. So that I think that's the correct decision in terms of those challenges in this day and age. Do warrant a yellow. Chris
Richards has just had some instructions on the sidelines. He's gone running back into that attacking line on the edge of the Chelsea penalty area for this free kick, whichever Eze or Adam Wharton's going to take. It's a big spider hanging down from the roof 2 rows in front of us there, Steve, getting a spider's eye view of the pitch from where we are, as they're going to get an eye on this, as it was left by Wharton to Eze. Eze right-footed curls it straight at Robert Sanchez, and Chelsea are now going to try and break as quickly as they possibly can, and it's Neto who takes on Hughes and beats him for pace down the left-hand side of the penalty area and wins a corner kick. And Oliver Glasner is livid because he thinks that Will Hughes didn't have the awareness of Pedro Neto running at him. He got past him and they had to smuggle it out of play for a corner kick.
Yeah, I'm going to go back to Crystal Palace's free kick. I quite like the fact that Wharton runs over and has a little touch allowing Eze. Chelsea really slow to react to that touch, and he gets his shot away, but it's a comfortable save for Sanchez. Really quick thinking from Sanchez on the sidewind volley that gets Neto in behind for this corner. But Hughes did stutter without any shadow of a doubt. But was it just pace? I'm sure Neto just done him for pace.
Reece James is going to curl it again near post. Cleared away though by Crystal Palace. It's one on the edge of the Palace penalty area. Gittins with a shot. Took a deflection. It swirls out wide to James on the left-hand side. Delivers a right-footed cross which Jean-Philippe Mateta heads away 16 yards from his goal line. Back in towards the Palace penalty area. Gittins turns Will Hughes. The Chelsea fans are livid, thinking that Will Hughes has gone down cheaply to win a free kick when he'd been beaten to the ball.
Yeah, I mean, depends how you want to look at that. I'd say that's a bit of an old-fashioned shoulder-to-shoulder just before the ball dropped. And then Hughes goes down. There's a little shoulder-to-shoulder, and then there's a little... it's...
minimal.
Generous.
Minimal.
Generous.
I mean, you wouldn't want to see people going down in the shopping aisles of the supermarket for that sort of level of contact, Steve, would you? Because the carnage in there in the middle aisle, everyone trying to buy their new cheap hedge trimmers, and people falling over all over the place. Here is João Pedro on the halfway line, beaten to it though by Lacroix, bounced forward by Crystal Palace. There is a real bit of spice to this game. 1-1 draws in both of the two games between these teams last season as Guehi plucks it out of the air. And forward it comes to Wharton. Back to Mark Guehi, former Chelsea youngster himself, of course. Lost about £10 million from Chelsea when Palace brought him in. Or a little bit more than that. But as Chris Richards dabs it square to Lacroix. Started off at Cray Wanderers as a youth team player. Did Mark Guehi as a 6 and 7-year-old. Moved into their new facilities over the last few months as well. Great work that's been done down there as Dean Henderson again chips it long, little wedge forward towards the halfway line. Oh dear, Cucurella gets bashed into by Munoz, who claims he couldn't see the Spanish defender. Yellow card is going to be shown to the Crystal Palace man, and Mark Cucurella is down holding his face.
It's a brave header from Cucurella. He stoops down to head it, so it's at hip height by the time he heads it.
Yeah.
It just runs into him basically. There's no malice in
that.
It's
a collision
based, isn't it? Yeah.
It's an accidental collision.
As it drops, Cucurella dives into it. This split screen's killing us. It's absolutely killing us on the replays. Anyway, that was a yellow, wasn't it?
Yeah, yellow for Munoz. I think he said, look, it's accidental, and to a certain extent, I suppose it's duty of care though, because he's running into the space that Cucurella is going to try and occupy. So
it was brave from Cucurella.
Yeah, it was.
There will have been players that would have seen that.
And then the contact is a little bit rash.
It's a foul, without any shadow of a doubt.
So one yellow card apiece, both on the right-hand side of the defensive units. As Palace, of course, play more high up with the wing-backs.
So I'm saying this is what, if you look at where their back line is now, you know, it's not easy to do, but maybe on a diagonal, you've got to try and penetrate in behind. They're not doing that very well. They're so focused on playing between the lines and intricate little passes and getting it through to, say, Cole Palmer or Pedro to feet. Yeah. They're actually not looking at ways of penetrating in behind.
Goalless after 29 minutes. Total Sport live on BBC Radio London on a Sunday afternoon. Gabby Roslin on 94.9 FM right now till 6 o'clock. We'll join her at around about 4, unless there happens to be a lengthy added time here. Brentford losing by 1-0 at Nottingham Forest, and here comes Chelsea. Cole Palmer, great control, spins it out wide to Gittins on the left hand side, in towards Cucurella, just loses it. João Pedro comes, strikes a shot goalwards in midfield, one back by Caicedo, who shapes a shot and scuffs it wide, but it took a deflection and it's a corner kick. Oliver Glasner's livid, and Enzo Maresca's jogging pants are slightly baggier than Oliver Glasner's trousers. As the corner kick is quickly taken, Caicedo has it in midfield, pokes it back out wide towards Pedro Neto on that right hand side. He's up against Tyrick Mitchell, gets wide of him. Here comes the cross, downward header, guided away though from the head of Trevor Chalobah. Met though by Gittins on the point of the penalty area, on his right boot, still with it, inverted shot, smuggled through some legs, and then it's turned over the bar. Trevor Chalobah thought that should be a corner kick. The referee waves away the appeal.
Yeah, well, he should be slapping himself rather than claiming a corner, because that should be in the back of the net, really.
Good point.
Yeah, it's almost out of embarrassment, I think he's claiming for the corner, because as that falls to him, it comes quick and it's a ricochet, but it falls to his feet, and I'm personally think a little side foot pass, a bit of composure, a little side foot pass low, beats Henderson. It skies it up into the stand behind. Little let off for Palace.
Palace with the play out, goes back to Henderson, closed down by João Pedro. Here is Ismaila Sarr, claims to have been caught, nothing given. Cole Palmer plucks it out of the air, takes it away from Wharton temporarily. Chris Richards with it. Lots of boos, lots of catcalls. 15 minutes to go before the break, still goalless. Oliver Glasner's a bit livid at the moment, berating his bench, but that's better play from Eze to unleash Hughes. Doesn't necessarily have the electric pace, but he finds Ismaila Sarr, who is quick, the former Watford man. Steps on the ball, 20 yards out. Here's Hughes again, tries to drive in across to Jean-Philippe Mateta, nudged away by the Chelsea defence. Won back though by Adam Wharton. From a Blackburn Rovers player, he got shoved over, thought he was fouled, nothing given. Here's Enzo Fernandez towards the halfway line, closed down by Eberechi Eze. That's never a foul. Referee tells him to get up, and Palace have a throw-in. Here's Eze behind the centre circle, finding Chris Richards again. Really lively opening game of the Premier League season for these two teams. Steve, your screen's now gone completely haywire.
I've given up on replays, but it's a brilliant game actually. Played at a super tempo, and it's sort of both sides have had their moments. Mateta's chance that shot that was well saved by Sanchez, and the disallowed goal have been the two big moments for Crystal Palace, and that Chalobah strike there was probably the best moment for Chelsea. But it's being played at a brilliant pace, very, very competitive.
Mateta takes it away from Achapong and sprays it down the right hand side to Daniel Munoz. That is a thunderous tackle from Achapong, who then gets clattered by Jean-Philippe Mateta as he nudged the ball away, and the referee's going to show another yellow card. But the first tackle on Munoz, I mean, you love to see that, Steve, don't you? That is proper old skill. I mean, you know, Ron Chopper Harris would have been proud of that.
Listen, if you're going to make that kind of challenge, it has to be perfect in modern day football, and that was about as perfect a challenge as you'll see. Muniz is not slow, and he's striding away down this right hand side, and across comes Achipong. The connection to the ball, the timing of the slide, absolutely first class. It was Achipong, wasn't it? Yeah, absolutely first class. He gets up, nicks it away from Mateta, draws contact and gets Mateta booked as well. I mean, this game is being contested about as fiercely as you can in modern day football. No one's overstepped the mark, really.
No.
Challenges have been superb. Pace of the game's outstanding.
Well, Achipong, 15th appearance for Chelsea, 11th start, alongside Trevor Chalobah there, and it's a throw-in which Marc Cucurella will take high up the park on the left-hand side for Chelsea, almost down near the byline, attacking the Crystal Palace penalty area, and then he throws it straight out of play. Miscommunications between him and Gittins. That'll be a goal kick to Crystal Palace, and we'll go to the City Ground. Forest against Brentford. Mark Taylor.
Forest 1, Brentford 0. We've got a VAR check, a possible Forest penalty. We're just waiting for the outcome of that. Let me tell you that Brentford have finally done something in an attacking sense. Yeho Yarmolenko has forced Matt Sells into a decent save with the Bees' first attempt of the game. It's not a penalty, it is just a corner to Nottingham Forest, who still lead by 1-0.
Mark, thank you very much indeed. Here it's 0-0. We did have the ball in the back of the net. Eberechi Eze with a thunderous free kick, but Mark Guehi penalised for shoving Moises Caicedo out of the way to create the gap through which the shot went. Palace trying to break. Cucurella winning it back, stumbling forward after the challenge from Wharton. Here's João Pedro, steps on the ball. He gets pushed over by Maxence Lacroix, and the referee's given a free kick. Oliver Glasner can't quite agree with that. He goes to have a chat with Michael Salisbury, the fourth official, who explains why it's a free kick.
I mean, they are, in terms of the free kicks that have been given already in this game, then that is a free kick, because if you're going to be consistent as a referee, but it is, I mean, we're right in line with the Palace fans. We're looking straight at them. They're right behind the challenge. Every single person bar none was waving their arms and up out their seat over that. But there's been 3 or 4 moments like that where there's been that little push, that little shove, that bit of contact. Referee's given them all. Yeah, it certainly has. He's quite animated, Ollie Glasner, on the sidelines here. It's Reece James with the free kick, 30 yards from goal, almost level with the edge of the penalty area. In fact, it's teased in by Pedro Neto, hucked away towards the halfway line over his shoulder by Eze. Reece James comes to field.
and pings it all the way back to his goalkeeper, Robert Sanchez, former Brighton man. Here's Reece James again, delivering long down the left-hand side to Marc Cucurella. Plucks it out of the air, slips it inside the penalty area. Neto with the little spin on the ball and turning to run towards the edge of the 6-yard box. Lacroix is there, though, to block it out of play for a throw-in on this left-hand side to Chelsea.
But there's an example of bypassing the units, Phil. Long diagonal, 60-yard ball. Cucurella in on the left-hand side, driving Palace back. I think it's something they've got to use slightly more, Chelsea.
Cole Palmer, successful in front of goal in the World, or in the Club World Cup. Cole Palmer in the Premier League, though, started struggling goals-wise in the second half of the season. Cole Palmer, but still, obviously creates even if he isn't scoring. And is dangerous. It's Jean-Philippe Mateta tries to break down the left-hand side as Palace go long over the top, but easily mopped up by Reece James. And the point I was trying to make about Reece James, Tommy Tuchel, England manager now, will want that option of him for the World Cup.
Yeah, I mean, look at the pace he's just shown there. That was a decent run from Mateta, and again trying to stretch the Chelsea back line, but Reece James just put on the afterburners and got there comfortably. Yeah, look, he's a quality player. You know, they pull him over from right back for the in-swinging deliveries, so he's got that, added to his strengths as well. He's extremely quick, powerful man, and a very good player. So options, that's all you can give the England manager, really, across the board. The more options he's got, the better he should be.
So it wasn't a foul. The VAR review, the referee overturned the original decision for a goal for Palace after the away number 6, Mark Guehi, is less than 1 metre away from the wall as the shot is taken. Therefore, it's an indirect free kick and a disallowed goal.
I didn't even know that was a rule. Astonishing. So I did say I didn't think there was any contact. There was minimal contact on Caicedo. I didn't think that warranted a free kick. That's interesting. I've got to be honest here, I've never heard of that. Within a metre of the wall.
Yeah, and I think some of it was introduced as well in regards to when you put a wall in front of a wall. It's when when you do things and how you can and where you can stand in a wall to try and prevent the wall from being effective as a solid unit.
Well, learned something today.
It's been nicked away by Chalobah on the halfway line, just clipped it clear of Sarr, but Wharton comes away with it and swings it out wide towards the left-hand side. Eberezer Eze plucks it out of the air, gets caught by Reece James. Now, we know he's on a yellow card, the Chelsea man.
There's not a lot in that. He plants his leg out, and Eze tries to drift inside. I don't think that's not yellow card material for me. It is just what it is. It's a free kick. Excellent play. I tell you what, Wharton. We've spoken about players that might be under threat of transfers. I can't believe Wharton's not on someone's radar in the top four, because the guy's got serious talent. I mean, he turns on that one, he looks up, it's a left foot ping 50 yards on a sixpence for Eze. The touch from Eze is superb. Draws the contact free kick, but I can't believe Wharton's not on a top 4 club radar, to be honest.
I think referee Darren England's just said to Reece James, though, you are on that yellow card, be careful. We've got 7 minutes or so to go to half time. Still goalless on BBC Radio London, Total Sport Live on a Sunday afternoon. Eberezer Eze again with his free kick over on the left-hand touchline, guides it into the 6-yard box. Maxence Lacroix put his head in his hands, because that was a real opportunity.
If that's
didn't make contact with it.
Yeah, if that's onside, that should be a goal. It's a wicked delivery. I'm not sure what Chelsea's backline was doing. It dropped ever so late. It'd be interesting to see if there was, because they won't put their flag up until there's actual contact made.
No.
I mean, I can't believe it's not offside as it comes in. Yeah, that would have been offside, I think.
The intensity of this game,
it's
considering the warmth of the day,
and quality.
The amount of pressure that's put on footballers these days, it's been really, really high, hasn't it? And here comes Cole Palmer again, slides it out wide to Pedro Neto on the right-hand side, clips in field towards Enzo Fernandez and Reece James. Here is João Pedro down the right-hand side of the 6-yard box, defended by Crystal Palace. Has to play it out wide to Neto on that right-hand touchline. He's level with the edge of the 18-yard box. Goes back to James. He's going to deliver a really fast-paced whirling cross, headed away by Palace and met by Achimpong on this near touchline again. The 19-year-old from Waltham Forest, who pings it into the centre circle, and finding Reece James, who's given it away to Daniel Munoz, controlled on the chest by Jean-Philippe Mateta. Here's Will Hughes, who chips it over the top, looking for Ebereche as Reece James gets there first. Robert Sanchez says, I'm back at home if you need an option, and then Sanchez clatters it away over the halfway line, and then Gueye heads it over the top of the advancing Pedro Neto into midfield, only for Enzo Fernandez to slide it to the left hand side of the centre circle, and Cucurella. Chelsea fans encouraging their team forward. Just over 5 minutes to go plus added time before the break. 0-0 live at Stamford Bridge on this sunny afternoon.
Yeah, I mean, the game's just lacking a goal. That's it. Tactically, it's been fascinating to watch them both operate. You know, they've both got different ways of playing. They're both effective. There's some super individual performances out there. The tempo's been outstanding. We've had a couple of great moves, a couple of good saves, a big miss from Chalobah, and all it's lacking really is the goal element.
Yeah, Pedro Neto thought he was fouled. He's in his second year now, the Portuguese international, 40th start for Chelsea. He wasn't, but he got back to his feet when and won the ball, so got an applauded moment from his manager for that. They both arrived at the club last summer. Enzo Maresca had only had a year and a bit as a manager prior to taking over at Chelsea. He had a year at Leicester where he won them promotion, and he'd had a brief spell prior to that in Italy, and that was it as a head coach, as Palace come away with the ball down the left hand side, trundling forward, finding Sarr, who tries to burst beyond Cucurella. He's done that, and here comes Reece James, who just gets in ahead of Ismaila Sarr, nudged by the former Watford man. Free kick given.
Yeah, good cover across, good challenge. Sarr has his moments, doesn't he? Picks and chooses when to go, and when he gets possession he's got that long stride and he tries to get away from players. But once he's up and stride and he can't, it's hard for him to find Mateta. That's the problem. He's looking forward and he struggled to play that ball into Mateta's feet.
There's been another goal at the City Ground. Nottingham Forest, Brentford. Mark Taylor.
It's 2-0 to Forest now. Dan Undoy on his Forest debut has headed them further in front. A pinpoint cross from the left, a well-directed header from Undoy. It's Nottingham Forest 2, Brentford 0.
Throwing to Chelsea, halfway inside their own half of the pitch. Maxence Lacroix won the ball, but it was always bouncing away from him, and here is Achimpong, has Reece James to his right, and the young defender has again impressed as Josh Achimpong is down the right hand side. Comes Enzo Fernandez for Chelsea, looking for Cole Palmer. Lacroix read that. They win it back though through Caicedo to the home team. Won 12 games here in the Premier League last season, did Chelsea. Crystal Palace interestingly, really, when you look at it, finished higher with less points the year before last.
Yeah, it can
Crystal
happen.
Palace. They had a very good end to the season, though, of course, since when Ollie Glasner arrived, and they started last season quite slowly, and there was a bit of pressure building, but there'd been a lot of, again, discomfort and disturbance, really. The transfer window, who's going, who isn't going. They did lose Michael Elise. They did lose one of their key defensive units, really, but so they had to readapt to that. But Lacroix came in and made a real good transition.
Yeah.
And then and Sarr took a bit of time, but he then got up to speed, and they were such a good unit after that from December onwards.
Yeah, I think they've recruited incredibly well in the last 2 or 3 seasons, Crystal Palace.
Interestingly, though, of course, their director of football has now left. Eddie Freeman left, and I'm not sure he's been replaced. So here is Mark Cucurella halfway inside his opposition half, and Trevor Chalobah slides it towards Reece James. Caicedo, just a slight lull, Steve, as we head towards half-time. Pedro Neto tries to escape down the left-hand side of the Palace defence, and that's easily cleared and well cleared by Tyreek Mitchell. And on the halfway line from Ebereche Eze, who gets caught by Caicedo, but Palace come away with it. Little nudged header to Wharton, brings it under control, finds the Colombian Daniel Munoz. Down the right-hand side to Sarr, closed down by Mark Cucurella with his flowing locks, I think it's fair to say, Steve. They bounce off his collar of his shirt.
Yeah, it's unmistakable when you see Cucurella running down the left-hand channel. Quite unique, that hair.
His mum doesn't like seeing him get into trouble. When he gets into trouble with the referee, his mum doesn't like that. He gets told off by his mum, and you can imagine mums are like that, Steve.
Yep, they can be.
Here is Chris Richards to find Munoz on the right-hand side. It's warm out there, and you can get
not surprised. Yeah, when you said this, but just a little ulterior, I'm not surprised. Not surprised they didn't come a little bit earlier, to be honest. But yeah, it's a very good contest. Excellent game. But just dipping, isn't it, in tempo for the time being? Yeah,
Mateta having his shirt tugged by Achimpong. 4 minutes of added on time to play at the end of this first half as down the left-hand side, Tyrick Mitchell delivers towards the far post. It's too heavily hit by Tyrick Mitchell, and it bounces out of play for a goal kick for Robert Sanchez. 0-0, 4 to play of added time at the end of this first half. 2-0 to Nottingham Forest at the City Ground, and of course Arsenal are up at Manchester United later.
Yeah, big
and
game.
That reminds you of all those, Old Trafford, Arsenal.
Two big spenders.
Pizzagate, remember that?
Yeah, I do remember that. But 2 big spenders in the summer. I think both of those managers will at some point during the course of the season be under enormous pressure.
Martin Keown embarrassing himself in front of
not
Ruud van Nistelrooy.
Yeah, not surprised.
Yeah, that didn't go down well, did it?
No, I can't.
Hooked over the top, looking for João Pedro to chase, and Mark Cucurella, who's onside. Assistant referee's flag stays down. He finds Gittins. João Pedro still with him. Gittins forced back up the touchline and forces it into centre midfield for Moses Caicedo. He's robbed of the ball by Jean-Philippe Mateta, and here come Palace over the halfway line, looking for Eze. Sanchez is out to the edge of his 18-yard box, out of his penalty area, and scoops it clear, only as far as Tyrick Mitchell, but it's a battle between him and Pedro Neto. And it comes off Mitchell last for a Chelsea throw-in. We're playing added time at the end of the first half here, 3 minutes of which to go, still 0-0. Enzo Maresca wipes a bead of sweat from his forehead, the sun glinting off the top of his, should I say, shaven head, Steve. I mean, he has,
it'd be interesting to see what he has to say at half-time, because I think there'll be 1 or 2 players in the Chelsea side that he'll want them on the ball more.
Yeah.
They need to see a bit more action. This guy's been involved quite a lot.
Ball to Neto, manages to scoop across into the 6-yard box on the run, cleared away by Chris Richards' head, won back by Reece James, shot from Cole Palmer, drops from Cucurella, and his skyward shot heads into the upper tier of the shed away to our left-hand side, and that'll be a Crystal Palace goal kick. 2 to play, 0-0.
Yeah, just classic half volley, meeting the ball underneath the centre line of the ball on the way up, so the outcome is inevitable. It's going to fly into the top of the stands. It was more like a clearance than a strike, but Cole Palmer in that build-up saw a little bit of action, got his shot away. I think he's the player the manager will want to see more of, and Gittins on this left-hand side, I think he'll want to see a little bit more out of him as well second half.
Throw in to Palace on the halfway line.
I will give Palace an enormous amount of credit for stopping those players, though, because they're set up out of possession. It really does frustrate oppositions.
Here's Ismaila Sarr bursting on a diagonal, slipping it towards Tyrick Mitchell, whips in across to Eze, tracking back inside his penalty area was Caicedo, manages to scoop it out of play on that far touchline for a Palace throw, level with the edge of the Chelsea penalty area on that flank. Still 0-0. Will Hughes opens up his palms and says, look, I was ready for a quick throw. Chris Richards, though, instead jogs forward to take it. Last season, both these games were draws. They've been quite tight, some of them, in recent years. The previous season to last season, Chelsea winning here 2-1, a 1-0 victory at home the year before as Chris Richards launches it into the penalty area. Robert Sanchez comes to punch, not the best, drops for Eze. There's a player down injured. Gittins tries to get this clear. It's going to drop for Eze again. Munoz wafts a shot goal, which it goes wide. And now some attention may be required for a bit of a head knock.
Yeah. Glasner's again very, very animated on the side, and both managers having a little exchange. Nothing fiery, just a little exchange.
It's been another goal at the City Ground. Nottingham Forest Brentford. Which way's it gone, Mark Taylor?
It just goes from bad to worse. It's Forest 3, Brentford 0. Chris Wood with his second of the afternoon. He raced clear, rounded the keeper. It's Forest 3, Brentford 0.
Yeah, not a good start for Keith Andrews, and actually all that's going to happen there is the anticipation of that first result, and everybody's speaking about the changes, the managerial change, the player sales.
Well, the referee blows for 4 minutes and says that'll be at half time. The last 5 or 10 have just lulled a little bit, but the first 35 or so absolutely electric pace, real intensity, real physicality, and we thought an opening goal for Crystal Palace. Eberechi Eze from a free kick from 20 yards out thunderbolted it beyond Robert Sanchez, who didn't get anything on it. However, an infringement from Mark Guehi, too close to the wall, and VAR cancelled out the goal, so it doesn't count. One point I'm going to make to you in a minute, Steve, because it is quite puzzling for me, but at half-time, in what has been a really watchable London derby on the opening weekend of the Premier League season, it's Chelsea 0, Crystal Palace 0.
Total Sport Live.
BBC Radio London.
Talk about the rest of the game. How is a goalkeeper punching an opponent in the back of the head, right, with not making any contact with the ball, not a foul?
Well,
if that had happened somewhere else,
I know, but they do get a lot of licence, don't they?
Because that's what happened. That's just what happened.
It is exactly what happened. Was it Guehi at the near post flicking it on, and the punch was missed the ball and hit Guehi, right? And there was a little shirt pull from someone in there as well. Not enough to warrant VAR. But I understand why you'd ask that question. The point is that keepers do seem to get a little bit more leeway than anybody else.
Okay, I just thought I'd ask the question.
I can't offer you too much on that, really.
That aside, really good first half. It just lacks a goal. And actually, we've seen one goal chalked off. We've seen one other shot from Eze after a clever free kick routine, which was easily gathered by Robert Sanchez. Munoz has wafted one wide. At the other end, Chelsea not actually forced Dean Henderson to making any saves. So although there's been a lot of action, I know it's been very intense and physical, goalmouth action has been very, very limited.
And that's why, we're waxing lyrical about the game live, but actually if it's goalmouth action that you require to make a game exciting for you, then there might be some people that are going, actually I'm bored. Chelsea haven't done enough. Chalabar's chance is the one for me. It drops no more than 4 or 5 yards out, it ricochets to him, and somehow he balloons it above the crossbar. And it again, if you've got somebody who's composed in those situations, they understand that maybe a side foot along the ground into the corner of the goal is but he just hacked at it quickly to get a shot away, any shot away, and up it went into the stand. But you've got Mateta had a great opportunity, really good play from Wharton, a give and go, little slide rule pass down the side of centre half, and Mateta took a touch and shot really, really quickly. Sanchez, it just hit him on the chest. It was a good save, but that was a very good move from Palace as well, and you've got the disallowed goal. To me, Palace have had the better chances. They're excellent out of possession. The way they drop all 10 players behind the ball, which sometimes can lead to getting stuck in your own half because you can't break out. But they have players that can drive with the ball in possession, dribble 10-15 yards. Sarr's one, Muniz one on the right hand side, Eze's obviously one. So they can go from that deep block into those transition counter-attacks because they've got great players who are willing to stay in possession of the ball over 10, 15, 20 yards and drive away from their opponent. And it makes them dangerous. They're a really good side. And what I would say is I think we were here for this fixture last season and Chelsea dominated. Do you remember the first 45? And then Palace came right back into it in the second half, and it was a 1-1 ending, and it was a pulsating game for different reasons. This one's just finely poised. And I couldn't pick a winner at this moment in time. Normally you get a sense of one team taking the other, they're doing some things better, or they're just better in certain areas. This one's just finely poised.
Yep, certainly is. Half-time then here at Stamford Bridge. Second half commentary to come on Total Sport Live on a Sunday afternoon. It's also half-time at the City Ground. Not the best of 45s for Keith Andrews' first game in charge of Brentford. Here's Mark Taylor.
It's been a poor first half for the Bees. At half-time, it's Nottingham Forest 3, Brentford 0. Chris Wood gave Forest the perfect start following a corner. Elliot Anderson tried to add to it, but his drive was charged down. The Bees eventually responded. Yeho Yarmouk testing the Forest keeper with a well-struck effort that Matt Sells saved down to his right. Forest was soon back on the attack, and Dan Undoy made it 2-0 with an excellent header, and the goals kept coming. Chris Wood adding to the visitors' misery with his second goal just before the interval. He raced clear, he rounded the keeper. It's left the Bees with a mountain to climb second half. At half time, it's Nottingham Forest 3, Brentford 0.
Mark, I think the worst defeats last season for Brentford were there was a couple of 3-1s. I remember one of them at Tottenham. It was a bit harsh, really. Early season lost at Man City, but narrowly lost at Liverpool, but could have been in that game. Yeah, they lost at home to Arsenal by 3-1, but that was the heaviest loss last year. You're going to need to see some adjustment in the second half, aren't you?
Totally. They were under the cosh for long periods, 1-0 down. They then eventually emerged from their shell, had a chance, the keeper saved. If that goes in, Yarmolenko trying one from 20 yards. If that goes in, then it's a different game. The trouble is, Forest have looked dangerous, and they've sensed that Brentford are there for the taking. A second goal and then a third just before the interval. It's very hard to see how Brentford are going to come back into things without, as you say, making a change or two, because in an attacking sense they've threatened so little. Keane Lewis-Potter has had little joy down the right. Fabio Carvalho has yet to make an impact down the left, and you feel something has to change.
Mark, thank you very much indeed. 3-0 to Nottingham Forest, 0-0 here, Chelsea against Crystal Palace, Arsenal at Manchester United later, and it finished in the Championship. Ipswich 1, Southampton 1. Plenty of action yesterday on BBC Radio London on Total Sport. Some good, some bad, and some downright ugly. Let's start there, shall we, with the Hammers trip to Sunderland.
Isidore is the one who's gone forward and run into space, and nobody's tracked the run there of Isidore. But he enters the penalty area and shoots, and he seals it. Wilson Isidore seals it for Sunderland. It is a dream start after 8 years away from the Premier League. But where was the West Ham United defence on what has been a sorry start for the Hammers? After a result like this, it doesn't matter about the positive pre-season. It is what it is. We have to accept it. Whatever criticism comes, we deserve. We lose 3-0, so there's nothing for us to say. We have to improve. Like I said, the basics of the game today weren't at the level. And in those games of fine margins, which is what it was, if you don't do the basics, you're going to get punished.
Here's Richarlison, who's on a hat-trick, and now Sarr bursts forward and releases Johnson into the box from 3! Oh, what a finish that is! Brennan Johnson with a wonderful touch beyond Dubravka. He boots over the corner flag, and he's probably sent Tottenham over the line in Thomas Frank's first game as Spurs manager at home.
Very short turnaround from a very emotional defeat. We actually played 2-2 against PSG, and then we lost in penalties. So very emotional game where we did well. The medical department and then the performance department did very well to get the players ready to go again. I think we had 8 starters or something like that. But the performance today, I think, was good. Not perfect, but good.
Corner taken, comes to the far post, and it's in! Rodrigo Muniz gives Fulham an equaliser in the last seconds of the game at the Amex. They always do this, Fulham. They always do this against Brighton.
The aim and the desire is always to get 3 points. Doesn't matter away or at home. We know that it's very difficult always when we play away from home. The first Premier League season, the enthusiasm, some excitement from the home team, the home. And the home fans as well. The game was very balanced.
All over here, Bristol City 0, Charlton 0.
Great point, after the result they had last week, beating Sheffield United 4-1, with the talent they got, I thought we were outstanding, defensively superb, and to be fair, I felt we were going to win it. I really felt we were the side more likely to win it, apart from a counter-attack. Couldn't see them scoring, couldn't see them breaking us down. So it just shows we're in a good place, but I'm really proud. We've come here, we've adapted to the Championship really quickly, and as you've seen today, I thought we were excellent.
And Bergzorg has made it 3 for Middlesbrough, and that caps off a professional away performance for Borough and a really deflating afternoon for Millwall.
Disappointed, frustrated we lost the game in the manner which we did. I think that probably until about 60-70 minutes I thought there wasn't much in the game. The first goal comes for us giving the ball away cheaply in our own half. It's a transition. We spoke about it at half time. We should have scored in the first half. The lad clears it off the line. I thought we were getting some really good areas. I thought we had some good final third play, but didn't put enough crosses in the box for me. So that was the discussion point. Try and make sure we don't give the ball away cheaply, which we did. So if you look at the goals, first goal we gave the ball away, second goal was a set play, which we've been far better at, and that's frustrating. And then the third goal, again, we gave the ball away in a silly area.
Louza will bring it down to the right-hand side, just inside the QPR penalty area. Stands it up towards the far post, and Kerem goal! Heads it in! And he has his second, and Watford have their second. A horrible, horrible few minutes for Julien Stéphan's side.
The first half was too poor, honestly, with the ball, without the ball. It was not good enough. And the second one completely different, with more intensity, more quality, ability to recover the ball higher on the pitch, more possession, and yes, more situation also to try to score the second goal. So it was completely different. Very happy with the second one, but very disappointing with the first one. And it's difficult to explain now because it's just at the end of the game and we need to analyze well the situation. But it's hard to imagine getting a good result when you play only 45 minutes, in fact.
It's played in by Norwood. It's a dangerous one, and it's been turned in. And Stockport County had doubled the advantage. And it was Aluru with the header, but Leyton Orient's defence were 6s and 7s. It was so simple.
I thought we dominated more or less all aspects of the game. I think after half an hour we're a better team by a long stretch. They've changed systems 2 or 3 times, but they're a threat. They scored 2 goals, and we have a wacky, definitely 10 minutes, maybe a little bit longer, wacky. Well, it's something what we need to improve and develop, where we need to. The momentum had been for us for half an hour, and we had a lot of good opportunities in good situations, but we didn't get shots on target and we didn't get real clear chances. The momentum's not going to swing your way for a full half of football. So when they had their momentum swing, we conceded 2 bad goals.
Edge of the area, Brown shoots, in it goes, it's taken a deflection, and Marcus Brown surely makes the points secure.
We've gone up a level now, and to win a game of football takes even more. So it's a game that we're so comfy in. Get the second goal, we're looking like we're going to get a third, and we should take the game away, and then Wing goes and does that, which he can do, and it changes the complexion of the game completely. And then you have to dig in, and they've had moments they'll be thinking that they could have got something out of that game, and that's generally, you remember the last bit, don't you? But I think if you rewind and the other sort of 80 minutes, I think we're comfy and we're worthy winners, but we had to really work hard for it in the end.
Malarkey with the ball for Fleetwood. Out towards the right hand side, drifted into the box. Evans brings it down towards the far post. A shot, what a save from Smith, and they've equalised deep into stoppage time. Look like the number 11, James Norwood, with it.
Obviously we're disappointed to concede the goal. Our wide man slipped, which didn't give him a chance to cross it. So that's disappointing, but that happens. My disappointment really is that we were on outside. I mean, we had some really good chances, and we should have been 3, if not 4, up. So that's my frustration, if I've got any frustration. But the team's working hard, the team's doing all the right things, and we just conceded a couple of goals that are not they're a bit un-Bromley-like today. But I've got no complaints about my team in the way they performed.
It's finished. Barnet 1, Walsall 2.
I thought the spirit we showed, the characteristics we showed, shows how we've created success at this football club over the last 4 or 5 years. So I'm proud of our performance.
Dean Brennan, first goal in the league, but another defeat. They actually moved out the bottom 2 though because of results elsewhere, bizarrely. Goal difference. It's very early days and they are adapting, and Dean's style he's made a lot of changes, but Dean's style will eventually get there, I think, from Barnet's point of view. Steve Brown, we're just waiting for the players to re-emerge here, and they will be out shortly at Stamford Bridge, but I do have to ask you about a club that you worked for a little while. West Ham United. A lot of concerns have been expressed over the summer by fans about the transfer policy. The second half of last season, Graham Potter didn't really kick on. There was no real bump. You don't expect that with Graham Potter because of the way he goes about doing things. But to lose at Sunderland 3-0 in the opening day of the season to new boys who are being tipped to be relegation favourites, or some of them, that's not very good optics, as they would say, as they would describe it. It's just not quite right at the moment, Steve.
Yeah, and they've sold a very good player, which probably didn't go down particularly well to a London rival.
Yeah, well, to the worst London rival in the Premier League they could sell them to.
Not for me to say that, but
it is. West Ham don't like Spurs.
They don't get on. Notoriously don't get on. So that probably didn't go down particularly well. Then you look at the dynamics of the relationship between the fans and the appointment that was made.
Yep.
I don't think he's enamoured himself with the style of play. I think they found it quite tedious at times last year from people that I know, personally, that I know as friends that go. They found it quite tedious at times to watch. Look, I think Graham Potter, you don't get to the position he's in without being a very, very good coach slash
person, I think, as well.
Manager. However, sometimes things just don't fit. It doesn't work, and that result yesterday will just put him completely and utterly on the back foot. A bit like what's happening up at Forest today.
Yeah,
managers go in, and actually they don't. People probably don't appreciate how important that first result is. You've lost to somebody that is, like you said, come up from the Championship and probably wasn't ready to come up from the Championship either. Sheffield United probably should have won that playoff final. Some have come up, they've adjusted, they've spent a lot of money.
They have.
And they've hit the ground running with a superb result. The counter to that is West Ham fans will be ultra frustrated after one game.
Yeah, no, that's true. It's true. And next up for West Ham, Friday night, the London Stadium, Chelsea.
Okay.
It's not an easy start to the season.
It's not
for the Hammers, and
a bit of added angst in that one for Graham Potter, I would have thought as well.
Yeah. Well, we're off and underway for the start of the second half here, by the way. We're just off and underway. Chelsea attacking from left to right in their blue shorts with red and white flashes on them and white socks. Palace in their change kit today, sort of gold, I would say, Steve. I'm going to go with gold. That they're playing in shirt, shorts and socks. Tyrick Mitchell pings it down the left-hand side with a clearance. He just hobbles away from that, holding his right thigh, Steve. I think it just ricocheted a little bit as he cleared it. Tyrick Mitchell rolls the ball in his hands. It's a throw-in that's going to go Palace's way. He lobs it into the path of Eberechi Eze, who's given it away in the centre circle, met by Jamie Gittins. No changes at the break. Robert Sanchez in goal for Chelsea. You've got Reece James, Josh Anchipong, Trevor Chalobah and Mark Cucurella their back four. Moises Caicedo and Enzo Fernandez with Pedro Neto, Cole Palmer, Jamie Gittins and João Pedro up top. Dean Henderson in goal for Palace, who've got Chris Richards, Maxence Lacroix and Mark Guehi as their back three. Daniel Munoz, Will Hughes, Adam Wharton, Tyrick Mitchell across the sort of midfield area with the wing-backs, of course, Munoz and Mitchell. Ismail Issa, Eberechi Eze and Jean-Philippe Mateta. Here is Cole Palmer, who looks to play it back into his own half, and Reece James, both head coaches on the edge of their technical areas. As João Pedro gets caught by Maxence Lacroix. They both go down after that challenge. The Chelsea striker is still rolling around. Lacroix is slowly getting himself up to his feet. Referee gave nothing, by the way. Here's Wharton. Swings it out wide to Richards on that right-hand side. Now it's going to be levered forward to Jean-Philippe Mateta. Good strength from him. Achipong, though, is able to stay with him, physically bounce off him, and then just like dab a boot at it to put it out of play for a throw-in on the right-hand side to Crystal Palace. Rather slower start to the second half, Steve, than we had in the first. 2.5 gone, 0-0. Not a lot has happened.
Yeah, and that's a foul throw, so they should have picked that up. It's Munoz there, just throwing it from above his head straight down into the ground. You can't do that. What I would say about Achipong is he's not going to win that battle physically. If Mateta pins him, he's not winning that physically. But what he's like so wiry. He bounces off him initially and then immediately gets back on him, and he's down the side getting a toe in. He's impressed me, Achipong, particularly how he can drive out from centre half at pace with the ball at his feet away from centre forwards and into that midfield zone.
Well, only just 19, turned 19 in May, and here come Chelsea, and that's Will Hughes. He's going to get booked. The referee's getting a little bit of abuse from the Chelsea fans because Enzo Fernandez is breaking forward, but he wanted to book Will Hughes for a drag back on Caicedo initially.
Yeah, so we give him credit earlier for using the 3 seconds. I'm going to criticise him here because I don't know why he hasn't allowed that. He can see Will Hughes, he's looking at him.
Yeah.
Let that play continue and advance into what Chelsea want it to become, and book him once that phase of play finishes. That was actually poor refereeing.
Yeah, here is Chalobah, steps over the ball, gets away from Ismaïla Sarr, tries to swing it out wide towards the right hand side, and Pedro Neto skims off the surface of the pitch, which looks beautiful out there, Steve. I mean, it's
you wouldn't expect anything less at the top end of the pyramid. Every pitch to me now in the Premier League looks like it's been cut with a pair of scissors.
Or delivered by the Carpet Boys or whatever. It's just perfect, isn't
they all look absolutely stunning, as they should, with the amount of money at the top end of the game.
Achapong, still only 19, and here comes Cole Palmer as Achapong is on the edge of the centre circle, watching on this advanced move from Palmer, and he toe ends it out of play for a goal kick, which Dean Henderson will take. Another I mean, Dean Henderson's 28, but as a goalkeeper that's a good age. You know, former Manchester United.
Well, he potentially got another 10 years.
Yeah, is he a player that will attract attention? This is the thing.
He might do, but I think Crystal Palace are in a position where you look at Brentford, for argument's sake, they've decided to sell.
Yeah.
Right, and they've cashed in, and it's an interesting time for them. Palace are in the same situation for me. 3 or 4 of their players will be on the radar of bigger clubs, and it's just whether they have to sell, want to sell, whether the players are making enough fuss that you have to move them on.
Here come Palace looking for Eze. He knew he'd strayed offside, so he had to stop his run, and Reece James just guides it and cushions it back to his goalkeeper Robert Sanchez. 0-0, 5 gone second half, and the Chelsea fans on their feet applauding Estevao as he comes to a little bit of a warm-up. Steve?
Yep.
Neto pings it back to Reece James, and it's much slower pace this second half at the moment. A little bit more considered. Chipped forward down the left-hand side for Chelsea. Cole Palmer will try and take it away from Adam Wharton, and he does so successfully. Now he nicks the ball, and it's sprayed in field, looking for Enzo Fernandez. It bounced off the heel of Will Hughes, whose socks are slipping further down his calves, and Wharton finding Eze, beautiful little leave and a dummy, and Tyrick Mitchell now is latching onto it, whips in a left-footed cross, and there's going to be Trevor Chalobah to hack it away for a throw in a Palace on this left-hand side.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good move. It's a brilliant overlap down this left-hand side from Mitchell. Excellent vision from Eze in terms of the dummy and letting it run, and Mitchell couldn't afford to take a touch. He had to cross that first time, otherwise that particular option would have been taken away from him. I thought that was a decent delivery. I just didn't think there was enough anticipation from players ahead of the ball.
Yeah, Will Hughes is starting to look a bit hotter, isn't he? His socks are drifting down. He's running in a way it's like saying, oh, this is quite a warm day, as Gittins is penalised for fouling Daniel Munoz on the halfway line. A few groans from the Chelsea fans. Palace fans applaud it. Many of them standing up, quite a few of them wearing t-shirts on the way here, Steve, proclaiming that they are the kings of Wembley these days, having won twice there in the space of a couple of months.
Well, they can have their moment, I guess.
Well, it's been a very positive 12 months.
It really has, yeah.
Here's Cole Palmer in the centre circle, sliding it out wide to the left-hand side. Overplayed it. Gittins will keep it in, though, under pressure from Chris Richards, down near the byline on the left of Chelsea's attack. Manages to fling it back to Cucurella, and then it's Cucurella and Gittins exchanging a pass between each other before Trevor Chalobah picks up possession. James on the right-hand side. Changes being prepared. Estevao is going to come on for Chelsea as it's rolled back towards Reece James again. So an early change in the second half for Enzo Maresca as the Blues shirts come streaming forward again. Everyone bar Robert Sanchez inside the Palace half of the pitch.
Yeah, they do this a lot because Crystal Palace drop everyone almost to the edge of their 18-yard box, and Mateta's only 25 yards from his goal line. They do bring everybody, Chelsea, into the opponent's half and high. If you think of the centre circle, the D, they're 5 yards advanced to that, every single Chelsea player.
They go back into their own half temporarily. Caicedo, though, crosses the meridian mark into Palace territory and then slips it towards the left, and he finds Cole Palmer rather central. Gittins is over on that left-hand side. Has to just hurry to keep it in from going out of play for a rather needlessly conceded throw-in. Back it comes to Palmer again, who drives towards the byline. Space for the cross. It's palmed away, though, by Dean Henderson as it was driven in towards the near post. Reece James will try and win it back. It comes off the head of the England defender last. And Estevao is about to come on for Chelsea to replace Jamie Gittins. So new faces replacing each other, really, in many respects, Steve. And we're, 53 and a half minutes into this game.
Yeah, but I did say, during or leading up to half-time, I thought Gittins needed to get into the game more. I think Palmer needs to get into the game more from a Chelsea perspective, and that's a sign that the manager feels like Gittins hasn't done enough for him today. Change made.
Being replaced by an 18-year-old who was a youth player at Cruzeiro and Palmeiras. Moved to Chelsea a couple of years ago. Compared to Messi, Brazilian international.
Well, he swapped sides.
Yeah, he's pushed Pedro Neto out to the left. As Will Hughes drives it forward, looking for Mateta. Moises Caicedo gets caught as he won the ball, and he rolls around quite acrobatically. Meantime, Pedro Neto is invited to race onto it down the left-hand side. It's going to bounce out of play. Enzo Maresca is livid with the fourth official. Oliver Glasner says there was no foul. Moises Caicedo is still down, Steve Brown.
Yeah, I completely didn't see that incident, so can't comment. I was just looking down and switching Neto on my sheet, but again, you have to go with the referee. He's not stopped the game. The Palace fans, it's Mateta actually on Caicedo, and it's a momentum thing again. The momentum of Mateta's taken him into Caicedo. There was a little bit of contact, but I can't imagine for one moment it was as dramatic as Caicedo's made out. But I mean, he is really hobbling and suffering from it, but it doesn't look that way on the replay.
No. Well, there's no further punishment. No further punishment. Right, 10 minutes into the second half here at Stamford Bridge. Any better for Brentford in the second half of their game at the City Ground against Nottingham Forest? Mark Taylor.
Yes, it is getting a bit better. 57 minutes on the clock. It's still 3-0 to Forest. Keen Lewis Potter wasn't far away for the Bees, though, with a fierce left footer from the edge of the box. That after a powerful run forward by Fabio Carvalho. Kevin Charter's come on at half-time. It's Nottingham Forest 3, Brentford 0.
Second half here, 11 minutes played. Here's Reece James. Gyökeres starting for Arsenal, by the way, the former Coventry City man, as Estevao down the right-hand side, drives it far post, and it's Pedro Neto with a header. Will Hughes helps guide it away. Reece James tries to win it back. He gets caught on the edge of the penalty area, and a free kick awarded for a foul, this time on Reece James.
Yep.
I think he just got caught by Beretche Eze, and again it's one of those ones where it's the contact, it's the momentum taking him in, but it is a free kick to Chelsea.
Yeah, it's the bravery of James. Eze's just trying to put his boot up to clear the ball. James nicks in front, takes the contact, free kick, but Estevao there down this right hand side goes for, nice and positive, goes for the 1v1 inside to outside to open up the channel, gets a little bit luck on the rebound, and then he drives the cross, way too much pace on it, and actually Neto coming in at the far post has either got to arrive later because he's got no chance of keeping that head,
or be Peter Crouch.
Yeah, or be much taller. Yeah. But you're just seeing a replay of James just nick in front of Eze, and as he's trying to volley it clear, and they're just unfortunate. It's just unlucky, but it is a free kick in a good position for Chelsea.
They're out with the immediate impact, having come off the bench. Chelsea fans on their feet. Cole Palmer very precisely playing the ball,
So this rule that you mentioned earlier, Chelsea have got two players to the side of that wall.
Yeah. Well, yeah, sort of. Are they? How close are they, though?
This is what I've never heard of it.
Maybe they will move.
It's initially designed to block the goalkeeper's view of the ball. That's what that's for, and they may
split. But you've got to move before the free kick is taken, I think.
Right. Okay.
But yes, Caicedo and Cucurella is stood in front of the wall now. They're going to move. Cole Palmer takes it straight at Chris Richards, who I don't know if he took it in the head or halfway between the head and the feet, Steve.
It doesn't matter. You're definitely going to go down, and you're definitely going to get the game stopped.
Yeah.
That's a given. That's an absolute given.
The referee has stopped play and has awarded the physios on. Goodness gracious me. One's got a little handbag. The other one's got like a rucksack as if he's going on a Duke of Edinburgh's award scheme expedition. I mean, that is like he's got his tent, his sleeping bag. Seriously?
No, I know. I've seen him go on.
Look at the size of that. Yeah. Cooking utensils. He's just reached in there for his Bunsen burner or whatever it is to maybe cook up a little bit of mint tea to give Chris Richards some relief. Not quite sure. That is a huge medical bag. His a family of 4 just popped out of it. They're on
life raft. He's got everything covered, that guy.
It's amazing. Anyway, Eden Hazard is here. I saw a fan approaching the ground wearing a Hazard shirt.
He looks pretty
relaxed.
Yeah. He's having a great day.
He certainly is, just sitting back enjoying the fun, watching players of his former team and Crystal Palace toiling in the heat here on this warm mid-August Sunday afternoon on Total Sport on BBC Radio London. 0-0 here. There's a little kiddie holding up a sign for some reason. I don't know. Give us your shirt. No one's going to give you a shirt.
Definitely be a shirt one, yeah. But look, this game, as we thought, the first half was played at an excellent tempo.
It was,
super in terms of the balanced tactic of both sides and their setups and how they were trying to counter each other. We had a couple of opportunities. Second half so far, 15 minutes in, and it just isn't living up to the same billing as the first 45. We've got a lot of play as in between the two 18-yard boxes and very, very little inside each 18-yard box and no threats really at goal. That one cross from Estevao on this right-hand side, but yeah, it's turned into a game that you need an individual to do something out of the ordinary here in the final third to maybe unlock.
Chris Richards had a bit of wadding, put up his nose. He obviously took it right in the middle of the face, the ball.
Yeah.
And one of the many things, so the medical staff, a bit of candle mint cake as well inside that rucksack, that trekking rucksack, Steve, and some wadding to shove up a nose.
It's not a good feeling, that. I've had that way.
No,
and you get it blocked and you start having to breathe out in and out your mouth, and
mouth breather.
Yeah, it's not nice.
It's just a bit unnatural and just doesn't feel right, does it? I suppose. Here come Chelsea again. Chalobah delivers far post, headed away by Tyrick Mitchell, conceding a corner kick. He did have Estevao behind him. And it's Chelsea have got their tails up at the moment, and they feel that they've got a little bit of an advantage, so they're trying to push it home. 0-0.
Yeah, but as that cross come in, two Chelsea players in the same area, you kind of want different runs. You want one in the centre, one at the far post, and that may have just undone Mitchell at the far post.
Here comes the corner kick, and it's headed over the top of the bar by João Pedro, and he knows it. He knows it was a chance. It dropped onto his head, but he got there 6 yards out, and he guided it over the bar and not into the onion bag, as they call it.
Yeah, under pressure from behind and in front. And actually, I think Crystal Palace will be disappointed when you look at the cross come in and how many players they've got along that 6-yard line that they've not made first contact with it.
Palace trying to attack towards the halfway line. Ismail Sarr goes to ground too cheaply, says the referee. No foul given. They've worked it into Wharton's feet. Here's Mateta on the halfway line, steps on it, tries to wriggle away from Trevor Chalobah, pings it towards Eze, who steps on the ball himself, and he's dispossessed, and Estevao comes away. It's been tugged back by Tyrick Mitchell. That's a great tackle though from Mark Guehi to win it back from Crystal Palace. And then Mitchell up the left-hand side, conceding a throw in is Caicedo. Good battle in front of Enzo Maresca. Is just having a word with his substitute that's just come on. Are Palace preparing any changes at this moment in time? No. We're 62 minutes into the game. Claims of handball, 63 almost played, and this will be Chelsea possession. Estevao and Reece James having a chat with each other, and Enzo Maresca in close attendance. Ollie Glasner, meantime, turns to his bench.
Yeah, I mean, we've got a raft of players.
There's a lot of subs warming up.
Yeah, I mean, that rule's changed as well. It used to be 3 each, didn't it? Maximum was 6, so that's changed. Because there's like 9
of them out there, yeah. Well, you're allowed to make more changes, I suppose, aren't you?
Well, and there's more subs now than ever as well. You know.
Here's Chalobah. Receives some Achimpong on the left-hand side to Pedro Neto. Switch sides. He chips it forward to João Pedro. He chests it down into the path of Marc Cucurella, buzzing around, former Brighton and Hove Albion man, of course. Chalobah again to Achimpong was on the halfway line. Reece James is square of him inside the centre circle. Again, everyone bar Robert Sanchez has been inside the Palace half. As Palace drop down into a neat and tidy defensive formation again, it suddenly becomes a 5, not a 3, doesn't it? And then you've got those midfielders in front as well, so it becomes very difficult to break through. Michael Salisbury, the fourth official, trying to keep Enzo Maresca inside his technical area. Back it comes to Enzo Fernandez, who sprays it with the outside of the right boot to the left-hand side, and Pedro Neto. He's up against Daniel Muniz. Right-footed clip cross, far post, headed goalwards and scrambled clear, and then a shot from Cole Palmer which is blocked away by a combination of Will Hughes and Mark Guehi. Just numbers back for Palace, not giving Chelsea a clean opportunity.
Yeah, but excellent wing play from Neto. Little step over, fake to go down the line, cut back on his right, and a lovely little floated delivery begging to be attacked.
It's the fifth time that Chelsea have started the Premier League season with a London derby. They've won the previous 4. As here comes Chalobah, dances over the ball again and swings it out wide towards Pedro Neto down that left-hand touchline. Wants to get onto his right boot. Instead he cushions it back to Chalobah, who squirts it square to James. Takes a touch, lifts it left-footed towards Cucurella, and Munoz defends that really well. Gives the Spanish defender from Chelsea no chance to get on the ball, and shepherds it out of play for a goal.
Yeah, as soon as Cucurella makes the run inside, once that cross is on his outside shoulder and you're trying to adjust your weight and your body position, it's easy to unbalance you as a fullback recovering or a wing-back recovering, which we saw Muniz do. Good defending, ball in, not quite where it should have been delivered to.
Well, Sarr has got time and space to bring it under control in the centre circle, but is dispossessed by Cucurella. As it goes forward to João Pedro, Cucurella tries to slide in to take it away from Tyreek Mitchell, but he drives forward over the halfway line, and here comes Ismaila Sarr. He's got Eze to his right. Oh, he stumbles on the ball, does Ismaila Sarr. Had options left and right, and Chelsea can now carry clear with Neto over the halfway line. João Pedro getting forward into the penalty area. Cole Palmer just in advance of him as well, but Palace get back very quickly into a defensive position, but then Cole Palmer, great little run towards the byline looking for João Pedro. It's Estevao, left-footed over the bar.
Oh, and there's a moment there. I mean, let's talk about the pass from Neto to Palmer. That's exquisite. The delivery takes a little ricochet, and it comes to Estevao. And Neto's facing him on that right foot, and if he steps out of the way, he comes on and curls it on target probably, but there's no way Estevao's giving up that chance to take the shot, but it's going away from him, slightly off balance, and the shot goes into the crowd. But we're getting the first sense now that the game's opening up. It's starting to stretch. I thought Sarr should have played in Eze on the previous attack when he stumbled. Eze made a great run on this left-hand side, but as soon as that turnover come, there's suddenly more space in this game than there has been at any point. And that's when you start to look down the line at your substitutions, because managers tend not to like that.
No.
They don't like seeing, you know, great big oceans of space in the middle of the pitch for the opposition to counter into. And we're starting to see the first sign of fatigue on both sides as well from individuals.
And Ole Glasner is going to make a change. Jefferson Lerma is being ready, putting his shirt on, the 30-year-old. 61 starts, 13 sub-appearances, including at Wembley last week for Lerma, and he's going to make his 75th appearance for the club. This is going to be the first change made by Oliver Glasner. Meantime, they got a free kick inside the Chelsea half of the pitch, to the right of central midfield. Wharton and Eze behind it. Wharton puts his left hand up in the air. It will be Adam Wharton who sweeps it towards the far post, and it's going to bounce away from Ismaila Sarr, who scored at Wembley last week. Maybe he saw the headlines scoring at Stamford Bridge as well, but then stumbled on the ball.
Yeah, it'd be interesting because the line from Chelsea is incredibly high, and the ball in from Wharton's good, but the linesman's not going to indicate whether they're offside or not because there's no contact. That's twice that's happened. I'd be really intrigued to see if those Crystal Palace players are onside, because it's a dangerous line that Chelsea hold.
Chelsea have won it just about, have they? And João Pedro just marches away from that. Maybe got a little clip. Palace come away with it on the halfway line. Tyreek Mitchell, toe poked into him by Eberechi Eze. Reece James, though, is just wrestled it back and finds Achimpong and Sanchez. Then Cucurella turns on the ball and sprints towards the halfway line. Here is Caicedo trying to play with a bit of control at Chelsea, and Enzo Fernandez finds Cole Palmer, just bounces up between his ankles really, brings it under control eventually, does the former Manchester City man. And Caicedo, right edge of the centre circle. Lerma receiving some instructions as to what he's going to do. Chelsea going to make another change themselves, having put on Estevao, and Liam Delap is coming on for Chelsea for a home debut, Steve Brown.
Yeah, maybe a little bit more physicality across the top line.
Well,
ball into feet, sticking a bit more maybe and feeding Palmer.
Oh, it's been given away by Achimpong, and here comes Eberechi Eze. Went for a really long-range effort, hit the back of Caicedo. And Sanchez is scrambling backwards. Munoz delivers towards the far post, and Reece James has to put it out of play for Palace's first corner of the afternoon, because he had Will Hughes just sneaking in behind him, and Lerma's going to come on before the corner's taken.
Yeah, I think they've signalled that. They want him on. I can understand why, because he is a fair size and he's going on for Hughes, who's a little bit diminutive.
Yeah, and also on a yellow card.
Yeah.
And also maybe just feeling the heat a little bit, Will Hughes, flaxen haired.
I think we'll see multiple changes over the next 5 or 10 minutes, if I'm honest. But yeah, that's the first mistake we've really seen from Chelsea in terms of trying to play across the back line and into the midfield units. A great interception. Maybe there'd be a little criticism of Eze taking that shot, but Sanchez was way off his line, and it was worth the attempt, but it just unfortunately got blocked.
Delap sits down, he won't come on at the moment. Lerma is on. Eze's going to take this corner kick left hand side in front of the Palace fans in that half of the Matthew Harding. They go near post, and
I would have said that was a corner.
I thought that was a corner. The referee's given it as a goal kick, and Sanchez is not wasting any time, and they go along, and it bounced in front of Tyrick Mitchell, who scoops a header out towards the far touchline. Him and Pedro Neto. Who's Pedro Neto? Pedro Neto battling for the ball. There's me talking about mint tea. Apparently nettle tea is supposed to be good for you, Steve, isn't it?
I wouldn't know on either front, either of those.
Fair enough.
Just good old Yorkshire for me. Other brands available, do I say
they
that?
Probably are, yeah. Yeah, you're absolutely right. There definitely are other brands of tea. Used to be a very, very important commodity and currency, tea. People used to trade in blocks of tea and keep it because it was worth a lot of money, Steve.
Always get a little history lesson. Always.
Here is Enzo Fernandez, bounces off his thigh. And it's worked into the path of Reece James on the right-hand side of the centre circle, the England international. Chelsea will make their second change in a moment. Liam Delap is going to be coming on. You would imagine it'd be for João Pedro. He's not going to change the shape, is he? But he is going to change the personnel.
Yeah, that's one thing sides don't tend to do, actually, is change shapes. There was a strong belief that you have a system and you buy players to play within that system, and there's an identity behind that. So I'd be astonished if they change shape.
27 minutes almost played in the second half. Still 0-0. Still awaiting the first goal of the afternoon, as it's Cucurella races into the penalty area. It bounces away from him to Dean Henderson.
Yeah, and such is the shape out of possession from Palace. You're forcing players to do things like that. That's a forced pass. It wasn't really on. It was cut from the outside of the right, always cutting away. And the chances of success from that pass was minimal.
Arsenal lining up like this, by the way, against Manchester United. Raya in goal, White, Saliba, Gabriel and Calafiori, as Chelsea break down the left-hand side. Pedro Neto, good pace, trying to get away from Matson Leclerc. He pulls him down by his shirt collar, and a free kick is awarded. And the referee says, I'm going to book you, or I'm not going to book you. I'm giving the free kick for, effectively his arm action was, I'm giving a free kick because you gave him a cuddle, Steve. So I don't know if that's one of the most sort of light-hearted ways, but here goes the change now. Pedro off, Liam Delap on for his home debut last year at Ipswich Town, making a name for himself, and we all knew about the release clause, £30 million. Who was going to get him? Well, the world champions got him, Steve.
Yeah.
And he won a world championship, so not bad business.
Yeah. And he's an old-fashioned type centre forward, isn't he? 6'3", 6'4", broad shoulders. You'd imagine he's going to be able to hold the ball up a little bit better than Pedro. They're slightly different players.
Yeah, Odegaard, Zubimendi and Rice in midfield for Arsenal. Saka, Martinelli and Gyökeres. Manchester United, by the way, do give debuts to Mbumu and Cunha. Bayende in goal, Yoro, De Ligt and Shaw back three. Diogo Dalot, Casemiro, Bruno Fernandes and Dorgu with Mbumu, Cunha and Mount up top.
Just looking at Palmer's position.
Yeah.
Chance of a setback and a strike from the edge of the box here.
Over on the left-hand side, we'll be at the City Ground shortly. 73 and a bit minutes played at Stamford Bridge. Goalless in the sunshine. Both managers starting to look a little bit hot and bothered. No goals though. It'll feel better for one of them if their team can score. Up goes the arm. It's going to be curled in by Reece James near post again. Mateta heads it away. Estevao has to get back. And that's a foul on Daniel Nunes and a yellow card for the Chelsea substitute who thinks he got the ball.
Well, the referee doesn't, so he's going to get a yellow for it. And the one thing I did notice about that setup, they risked so many players ahead of the ball that counter was on. If Estevao doesn't make that challenge, Nunes has got 70 yards to run into, and it's only Palmer behind the ball recovering. So a bit of a risky game for Chelsea.
It's definitely a foul. It's definitely a yellow card.
Look, he's and I'd argue he's away if that challenge isn't made. I don't think Esteval's got the pace to keep up with Munoz, and he's away.
Let's go to the City Ground. Mark Taylor.
It is still 3-0 to Forest. Brentford, do they have a penalty? Yes, the referee has spotted a handball in the box. The Bees have the chance to reduce the arrears from the penalty spot. Let me tell you that Morgan Gibbs-White was narrowly off target with a fine overhead kick for Forest. Jordan Henderson has come on for the Bees to make his debut. Frank Onyeka has also entered the fray. It's still 3-0 to Forest, but there's a chance of a Brentford goal. They have a penalty.
Back with you in a moment then, Mark, for that, as Reece James has it for Chelsea in his own half of the pitch. The steward in front of the tunnel made a really good save there, Steve, as it came over to this near sideline. Two hands, didn't go with the top hand, went with a two-handed flick up in the air. It's a throw in at Chelsea on the halfway line, but don't know, Chelsea fans saying that Robert Sanchez maybe not convincing them. Maybe they should look at the steward on the sideline, Steve.
If he'd have held it, I'd agree.
You're not told to hold it anymore, are you, goalkeeper?
No, because if you try and hold one, and their argument is it drops out in front of you to a goal-scoring position, whereas palming it away gets it away from that goal-scoring position.
Liam Delap tries to play it back up the touchline to a throw-in taker, Reece James. Palace come away with it. Mateta on the halfway line. Achimpong tried to hold up with him, goes back to Eze. He's going to swing it out wide towards the right, but he plays it with too much swirl. It goes over the top of Daniel Munoz, and it's met by Pedro Neto. So Chelsea, from having to be in a defensive position, are suddenly now attacking again. Cucurella, 0-0, blocked by Wharton. Good block by Wharton. Neto tries to break back at him. Adam Wharton looks up and then strays towards the halfway line, and Mateta then gallops forward and he rides one tackle as here come Palace again. It's a penalty at the City Ground for Brentford. Mark Taylor.
Still 3-0 to Forest, but Brentford have the chance to reduce the deficit from the spot. Jordan Henderson had the ball in his hands for a long period, but he's given it to Igor Thiago, who stands over the ball. The referee just making sure that all the other players are outside the penalty area. And here's a chance for the Bees. Thiago is charged with the responsibility. Thiago steps forward and Thiago slots it in. The goalkeeper dives to his right. Thiago's penalty virtually goes down the middle. The Bees maybe are back in this contest. It's Nottingham Forest 3, Brentford 1.
Mark, thank you very much indeed. We've just seen Jean-Philippe Mateta ping one straight at Robert Sanchez into his midriff, comfortable gather. We're going to see two more Chelsea changes by the looks of it.
I have to say they've got to do something.
Andre Santos and Malo Gusto coming on.
Yeah, they've got to do something because that strike from Mateta is the first strike on target in the second half, and we're now 77 minutes into the game. So as the home side, they've got to force this a little bit. I think some changes may have been made. Slightly quicker.
Here's Cucurella again, pops up in a very good position, finds Cole Palmer, tries to slide it towards the right. In midfield, Caicedo flicks it towards Enzo Fernandez. Estevao with a cross towards the far post, headed away by Chris Richards. Good defence. And then Ismail Sarr with a massive thumping clearance, which is allowed to bounce by Achimpong, and that gives Jean-Philippe Mateta an opportunity to get on the ball. Pinged it out wide, and Munoz down the right-hand side, level with the edge of the penalty area. His cross is against the shins of Trevor Chalobah, and it bobbles out of play for a throw-in to Palace, 12 yards up from the corner flag on the right-hand side.
Yeah, and brilliant territory gain there from Palace, and I would say to Achimpong, you've got to try and win that aerially. The minute that bounces, Mateta's favourite physically, he just held him off of his left arm, held the ball up, and that allows Palace to get the back line to the halfway line and win this throw-in deep into Chelsea territory. So the young centre-half there, bit of advice would be to try and win that ball cleanly with a header first, drop it into Caicedo and keep possession.
Malo Gusto coming on for Reece James, and Enzo Fernandez being replaced by Andre Sanchez. That's the two changes. James is on the yellow card, and maybe a little bit of extra legs from Malo Gusto is a possibility, Steve.
Yeah.
But Andre Santos, born in Rio de Janeiro, former Nottingham Forest player, came through at the ranks at Vasco da Gama. Arrived at Chelsea a couple of years ago. He's been on loan a couple of times as Santos, and Malo Gusto on likewise, in a like for Reece James. He's had to cover that position for Reece James as a starter for quite a few times, really, Malo Gusto, with Reece James' injury problems. Here comes the throw in on the right hand side from Mark Guehi, headed away by Chelsea. Estevao chases it down. Robert Sanchez will gather and now look forward, and that's the wrong ball. Estevao was absolutely calling for it on the right hand side.
He actually could have thrown that to Estevao rather than half volley it to Palmer. Palmer was being marshalled by two players. Estevao was completely free on the right hand side. That's a big error from the goalkeeper.
Yeah, from a distribution point of view, there was a lot of space for the right-sided attacker Cole Palmer. Was never getting on the end of that, and here comes Dean Henderson for Crystal Palace. Still 0-0. Again, Mateta and Achimpong battling for it. This time Achimpong does win it in the air. Oliver Glasner again animated with a little bit. Oh, he's not happy. Look at him, Oliver Glasner, and he keeps on berating the bench and talking.
It's his way of coping.
Frustration. It goes out to saying his, expressing his frustration to the bench, and they sort. What do? You sit there, go, yes, Gaffer, yeah.
They don't do anything because they can't do anything. He's been like that from day one, actually.
Yeah, he has.
He turns around to the bench and always vents his frustrations there, and then turns around as calm as a cucumber.
Yeah, it's amazing. Yeah, look at him now. Look, Achimpong over the halfway line. Chalobah, left-hand touchline for Chelsea. Pedro Neto sweeps it back. Cucurella's gone much more central now from Chelsea's point of view.
Yeah, I mean, he's not. This is where the game's changed. We put him down on our sheets, and he's listed as a left back, but he doesn't ever play there.
No, he doesn't. Pedro Neto shepherds it out of play for a throw into Chelsea. Enzo Maresca wipes his forehead again. Chalobah curls it to the edge of the centre circle inside the Palace half. Glasner, he must get through the calories as well on the sidelines. He's bouncing up and down. He's stretching those hammies.
Strong vocal cords as well.
Yeah, you can hear him.
Yeah. I mean, the onus is on the home side at the moment. They've just not done enough in this second half. 4 attempts a goal, none on target. Lots of play, lots of movement. Excellent style of play, but you're not actually penetrating in the right area in that final third.
Go long again from Robert Sanchez and straight out of play. Ironic and derisory cheers from the Palace supporters, and the Chelsea supporters are a little bit head in hands at that, because it's twice now in about a minute and a half where the Chelsea goalkeeper's distribution has been pretty poor as Eze picks up possession. Very central. Goes for goal! Sanchez has to palm it over the top of the bar. Just like the security guard in front of the tunnel, Sanchez palms that over for a corner kick, and Justin Devenny is coming on for Crystal Palace.
Yeah, excellent switch of play from a throw-in deep in their own half. They were allowed to throw in centrally, turn and switch play to Eze. He drives at the back line. Mitchell was in a brilliant position on the overlap. No one tracked him. No one was going to be able to get across and cover him. But I understand why Eze's taken the shot from there. But I thought Mitchell was in a superb position to be played in.
Glasner again trying to get some instructions out to his team. Quite loud bark he's got. Here it comes near post. Chalobah with the header away initially. Hooked over his shoulder by Estevao towards the far touchline in front of the west stand, where the shadows are lengthening almost halfway across the pitch now, in a line from the west stand to here, because of the way it's built. And the Chelsea fans trying to get behind their team, and we are going to see Eberechi Eze replaced by Deveni. So lots of speculation about Eberechi Eze. He's looking at the Palace fans, he's applauding the Palace fans, the man who gave them their greatest moment as a Crystal Palace fan in many respects. Will he be a Palace player in September? That's the big question.
You're probably thinking he's not going to be, but the fact of the matter is, it goes back to what we were speaking about earlier about good recruitment. He's another one. Elise and Eze were bought to sort of be 2 10s. In terms of the figures they paid for those two and what they're probably going to get back, they had certainly good service from Eze, and they're going to make a fistful of dollars.
Here comes the throw in. Sanchez flaps at it, not the most convincing of attempted takes from the former Brighton goalkeeper, and it'll be flicked out wide towards the right hand side. Little nudged header in for Chelsea to deal with, and they have done pretty effectively. Delap, as you say, is a much more physical element. He runs straight at Daniel Munoz, wins the ball, but
listen, I've seen him play a few times in the Championship and in for Ipswich, and he likes the battle.
He does,
and he likes going toe to toe with people as well.
Well, he's gone central again as Liam Delap is on the right hand side. It's swung back to Malo Gusto, who pokes it through the centre circle to Chalobah. Chelsea with time ticking away now. We've got 5.5 minutes plus added on time to go, trying to create something but not really creating much. They'll win a throw with a degree of fortune off Ismaila Sarr.
Truth is, they've been a little bit toothless in the final third, and actually the way the game sat, and the more frustrated Chelsea become, you can see Crystal Palace having that 1 or 2, just like we saw moments ago with the switcher playing the counter. They're going to have 1 or 2 of those moments, I think.
Estevao checks in field, good footwork from the young Brazilian. He's got away from Tyrick Mitchell, but he didn't get away from Deveni, who's a former Kilmarnock and Adrionians player. And then Andre Santos and Jefferson Lerma have a little coming together. Lerma's berating the referee, and it is a free kick which Mark Guehi will take.
And Santos, and he actually brought that pressure on himself with a poor first touch.
Yeah. Guehi started his professional career with the club that he's playing against today. Again, spent a lot of last summer's transfer window being linked with the move away, and then Joaquin Anderson is the man who left for Fulham. He spent quite a bit of this summer being linked with the move away. Liverpool, of course, have been a key link. Whether that's still on the cards or not, who knows. Gusto makes a block as it was chipped forward by Tyrick Mitchell. Lerma this time pushes into Andre Santos, and that's a little battle that's been continuing, and then Cole Palmer takes the free kick without Lerma retreating, wanting to see if he could get him booked. The referee says just get on.
No, it used to be booking, it's not anymore.
Yeah,
you just restart. But again, frustration's probably creeping in, and you do have to give, and I've said it already, they're very frustrating to break down, Palace.
Yeah, they are.
Set up out of possession is really good. They work so hard for one another. They deny space in between those little half positions we talk about.
Cucurella tickles it forward. Delap's into the penalty area. He's overplayed this, has he? Yes, he has, as he tries to wrap his boot around the ball. It's out of play for a goal kick to Crystal Palace. 51 goals conceded last season in the Premier League, but that really did close up once their form started hitting form. They, as you say, are very difficult, and they're a team that became known for the fact that don't concede first against Palace, because if they score first, it's very hard to get something out of the game. So with Palace, you have to score first against them. They're so well structured under Oliver Glasner, and to be fair, previous coaches have tried and done that as well, as it's chipped over the top, and now it's a battle between Delap and Lacroix, and Delap's come away with it, and he finds Cole Palmer, who darts towards the penalty area and forces a corner to be conceded.
And there's the difference. Pedro's a different type of player. He likes to run off the shoulder, and when it goes into his feet, it's one touch and spin. Delap's just about physicality, and he will put all centre halves under pressure. He will fight for every ball.
Well, they've had some big, tough, burly strikers here at Stamford Bridge over the years, haven't they? And they'd like to see another one. And they might well have got one for what could be a snip at 30 million. Here comes the corner kick. Mateta with the header away. One back by Caicedo. Another opportunity for Palace to clear their lines. Malo Gusto's there first, brings it under control, and he bobbles it back to his goalkeeper Sanchez, who side foots it away high into the sky, but no one can really chase it apart from Pedro Neto, because everyone else is offside. And then Cucurella goes in bravely, but this isn't a free kick. Cole Palmer, did he nudge that with his hand? Referee was happy with it, and Chelsea now have it with Malo Gusto. Space for him to attack, and then what on earth is that? As his shot slices off the outside of his boot and heads down gangway 13 towards the Brompton Cemetery, Steve. There's a lovely cafe at the top of there.
We'll be walking down there.
We're going to walk through there in a minute. Might find that ball, Steve. It's probably around where one of the Pankhurst is buried.
Yeah. When you say what on earth is that, that's a technical breakdown. There's a little lack of confidence on the strike itself. So what you've got to drive that ball. And he got caught between a drive and I don't know, it's come off the outside of his boot, and that's got to come off your laces.
Do you know how many goals he scored for Chelsea?
I'm going to go 0.
You're
Phil.
absolutely right, Steve Brown. And we can see why.
Yeah, I mean, it's just a technical breakdown. You have to be confident when you come onto that, and you have to really strike the ball quite crisply and quite cleanly. And he just had a collapse as he struck the ball. He didn't hit it with any conviction and bailed out of the shot.
0-0. Time ticking away. We're about to head into added time. We've got a minute of normal time to go. Can't actually at the moment see a breakthrough in this game, Steve.
I can only see a counter for Palace. You know, that Chelsea risk a player too many. They give a ball away in an area they shouldn't, and Palace counter. But yeah, we've been starved this second half of good opportunities, but the only 2 shots on target have both fallen to Crystal Palace.
Yeah.
They've huffed and they've puffed Chelsea, but they've just lacked any creativity in that final third.
Although the shots were not really shots that
No, not. Yeah. No.
But Delap, he spun inside. Lacroix. Delap strikes it goalwards, but he didn't get the power on it. It was straight at Dean Henderson, and there was a little error there for Maxence Lacroix, and it just gave a chance for Delap, as it's been given away to Mark Cucurella from Crystal Palace. Maybe they'll have their own undoing, looking for Cole Palmer. Lerma, though, was able to win it back, and then Munoz slips it up the touchline for Ismaila Sarr, who is being marshalled by Trevor Chalobah. 6 minutes of added on time to be played. Forward it goes again. Here is Cole Palmer inside the penalty area, tries to drive it goalwards, and that's great defending from Ismaila Sarr to help wriggle it away for a throw-in, and nothing worse from Chelsea's point of view. But it was Palace with some cheap turnover, gave Chelsea a couple of opportunities there. Pedro Neto slips it out wide to Cole Palmer, but strapping on his right wrist for the former Man City man, who of course famously likes a chippy tea, Steve, and goes fishing in his coat, whatever. Estevao down the right hand side again. Trickery, footwork, compared to Messi as a growing, developing talent apparently. I'm talking about Lionel Messi, not any other Messi.
Yeah, I can understand why, in terms of when he picks the ball up and likes to drive at players and the quick feet, but at the moment
still young.
I don't remember Messi at 18, but certainly there's a composure element to him where he's got to get his head up and look and see if there's a better option. At the moment it's just straight at the fullback.
Here comes the corner kick in towards the near post. Henderson blocked that. It's another corner. Pressure mounting. Enzo Maresca is being invited to get back into his technical area by Michael Salisbury. Here comes the corner again from Chelsea. Will they go near post again to Mark Cucurella? It's what they're looking for. They do, but that's been well marshalled by Tyreek Mitchell. Pinged back by Estevao to Malo Gusto, who bobbles it back out wide to the young Brazilian. Down the right-hand side, checks back onto his left peg. He's dispossessed by Deveni, and the Scotsman is able to hack it up the touchline. How many former Airdrieonians currently playing in the Premier League, Steve? That's a quick test, as here comes Cole Palmer, spun away from Deveni, tries to filter it into the edge of the 18-yard box, defended by Crystal Palace, and Malo Gusto finds Moses Caicedo. I must admit, a bit remiss of me not to do my research on how many former Airdrieonians players are currently playing in the Premier League, Steve.
Yeah,
I think it's less than 10. Here are Chelsea. Oh, what a chance for Andre Santos. 17 yards out, and he scooped it over the top of the bar like he was Johnny Wilkinson.
Yeah. Well, listen, since I said I can't see Chelsea, conjuring up a goal here, they've had two great chances. One with Delap, whose physicality forced a mistake in the back line. He had a volley that he would have wanted back and had a second go because he drove it straight down the throat of Henderson. And there Santos with a cutback, like you say, 16 yards out, left foot, and he gets underneath it and up into the bar. Shooting boots have been left at home today by everybody. I mean, that's cleared 3 goals in height.
It certainly has, yeah. Here comes Chelsea again. Delap on the halfway line. Estevao down the right-hand side, curled into his path, up against Tyreek Mitchell, who's defended him very well, but the young Brazilian skittles infield and sweeps it towards Cole Palmer. Sense of urgency from Chelsea, looking for that one last chance that may just nick it at the conclusion. Here comes Pedro Neto, delivers it into Santos, and it's gathered by Dean Henderson, just evaded Liam Delap. And Dean Henderson did well to bring it under control, looks up, looks for the early option. How long was that in his hands? There is a countdown. He's only allowed 8 seconds, isn't he, Steve?
Yep.
That was pretty close. Flicked on by Mateta down the right-hand side. Munoz with it. Not that many Palace numbers getting forward at the moment, but now they do have it with Wharton, who chips it in towards Devaney. Oh, he couldn't get a first-time cross into the penalty area, into the 6-yard box. And he concedes a goal kick.
I'm not sure what Devaney's thinking there. It's dropping, and you've just got to try and get your volley onto that and put it back into the middle of the 6-yard box. Palace have got 2 players waiting for it. Even if you bring that down, what you're going to do with it, because you're going away from goal, the side foot volley back into the centre 6 was the correct move there.
2 minutes to go. People are leaving, Steve.
Yeah.
I mean, I know you're going to beat the traffic, as they say, but it's a Sunday afternoon. I mean, what are you rushing back for? Antiques Roadshow.
And this game's livened up in the last 5 minutes. You've watched 40 minutes of a stalemate.
Yeah, you might as well watch
it's
the
getting
last
a little bit
couple of
lively now.
Here's Cole Palmer, central inside the Palace half, sweeping it out wide to the right-hand side, and Malo Gusto. People shielding their eyes in front of us in the east stand from the sun as, again, that's a poor ball. Estevao's going to try and make something of it, and he concedes a goal kick. I think that may be it. That may be the cue for people, but by this time you sort of, you're
in the traffic anyway, aren't you? I can see why Estevao is given that title. He got fizzed the ball just a minute ago, technically stopped it dead. Technically you can tell he's a special player for that age, but every time we've seen him, he's picked the ball up, he's driven at the fullback, they've doubled up on him, and actually he might do better to get his head up, try and link up with the centre forward or Palmer and go again, but he's certainly going to be a talent moving forward.
Less than a minute of added on time to go. That's bounced off Jean-Philippe Mateta. It's a throw in on the right hand side, 50 seconds less maybe, I would say. So there's one opportunity to get it forward. Caicedo's going to have to take that opportunity. It'll have to be quick. Here's Trevor Chalobah out to the left-hand side, and Mark Cucurella. Ollie Glasner saying that he wants his team to close them down. They've worked very hard so far. Pedro Neto slides infield, finding Cole Palmer's forced out wide by good defending from Chris Richards. He tries to go round Richards, and he sneaks infield again. And he's going to run out of time, Cole Palmer, if he doesn't find someone on the edge of the 18-yard box to try and create. Out to the left-hand touchline, and Neto. Palmer goes for it again. Is there a last-second goal here? Well, there's a corner kick which the referee will allow to be taken.
Yeah, and it was patient. What he didn't want to do was just punt it off balance into an area where Palace cleared it, and actually the patience has paid off. Corner of Chelsea, last moments of the game.
It is the last 5 seconds of the game. Pedro Neto puts his left hand up in the air. I'm not sure this is going near post. It's towards the edge of the 6-yard box. Palace have cleared it. The referee down England brings his whistle to his mouth, blows 3 times, and ends the game as a stalemate here. A really fast-paced, energetic and physical first half, first 45 minutes. The second never really quite got going to the same level, apart from in fits and spurts. Palace looking to play on the counter-attack, didn't really challenge Robert Sanchez too much. A couple of efforts, one palmed over the bar, one from long range, which he comfortably gathered. At the other end, Chelsea likewise, neat, intricate, edge of the penalty area, couldn't really get through the crowded nature of the 18-yard box that Palace made so difficult to pass through. Honours even, just like in both games last season, but unlike both games last season, we've had no goals. It's finished. Chelsea 0, Palace 0.
Total Sport Live.
BBC Radio London.
Waiting for the full-time whistle to go at the City Ground. Brentford's first game of the season, first game under Keith Andrews and Mark Taylor. It's ended in defeat.
It has indeed. Forest 3, Brentford 1. 2 goals from Chris Wood and a debut goal by Dan Undoy put Forest in the driving seat. It was a poor first half for the Bees, who'd briefly threatened an equaliser when 1-0 down. After the break, Keane Lewis Potter was unlucky for the visitors. Igor Thiago reduced the arrears from the penalty spot, but there was to be no dramatic comeback. It's finished Nottingham Forest 3, Brentford 1.
Mark, when Forest are up, certainly by more than 1 goal, they are very difficult to actually get back at, aren't they? So all the damage was done in the first half, wasn't it?
That's right, 3-0 down at the interval. The Bees needed something special second half, and while they did get 1 goal back, and they did improve their performance, without question, it was much more evenly balanced second half. You just wonder how much that was due to Forest just relaxing a little bit, or how much that was due to Brentford improving. Probably a combination of both.
Mark, thank you very much indeed. Mark Taylor will get reaction to that. Of course, you can hear it in breakfast bulletins tomorrow morning with Xavi Bird as part of the Aaron Paul Breakfast Show, and tomorrow evening on Total Sport on BBC Radio London from 6 o'clock. Steve Brown, firstly, very quickly, Keith Andrews, Villa next at home. You want to win your first game as soon as you possibly can.
Yeah, listen, welcome to management. It's tough. And this is why, you hear me give a lot of credit to managers like Thomas Frank, who've earned his stripes and hit the ground running when he gets an opportunity. Keith will be scrambled a little bit in his brain. He'll be anticipating a good start up at Forest. He hasn't got that, and that just puts the pressure on the second game. If Villa come to town and there's another bad day at the office, that pressure mounts and mounts and mounts, and it's horrible. Wouldn't wish it on anybody. However, he's got an opportunity as a manager to change that. But they're going to have to change it, and change it pretty quick. You got Visa probably ready to depart.
Ouattara's coming
in, and they're going to have to hit the ground running. They're going to have to really impact that team. But it's a tough job he's got on there, and I think there's a spotlight on Brentford at the moment.
This one started like a boxing match,
brilliant.
Finished like a chess match.
Yeah, absolutely. I do think Chelsea had the better opportunities second half. If you think about some of the shots they had that were skied over from good positions, they had the Delap volley. From an XG perspective, which I don't really take too much notice of. They did have those moments. Look, Santos there at the end with that left foot. It's gone 30 foot over, but that is actually a good opportunity. The cutback 16 yards out, the ball wasn't travelling too far, it was on the deck. And they should have made more of those opportunities, and that kind of summed up Chelsea's day. Their fans, I think, have gone home a little frustrated, whereas if you look away to our left, the Palace fans are in full voice, have stayed behind to cheer their team, because that is an excellent clean sheet away from home in a London derby against a very, very good side who are in good form.
When I meant the chess match, I was just sort of referring to the fact that tactically it became really interesting. Do you know what I mean? And I think the tactics had there. But
that was the last 10 minutes I'm talking about. The previous 40, because it went on 5 minutes over, the previous 40 were an absolute stalemate. Not a lot going on. So I totally agree with you,
Well, we're off and underway for the start of the Premier League season. We've got more matches coming your way, of course, including Crystal Palace on Thursday in the Europa Conference League on Thursday night. Next Friday we'll be with Chelsea at West Ham United. Saturday with more live commentaries for you, and 2 next Sunday. Huge thanks to Steve Brown for his company here, to Mark Taylor for watching at the City Ground as Nottingham Forest beat Brentford by 3-1, and to Xavi, the big man Bird, back at base, who's been keeping us honest and keeping us on air. It's back to Gabby Roslin next on BBC Radio London. Reaction to all these games tomorrow morning in Breakfast with Aaron Paul, and we're back from 6 with Total Sport on BBC Radio London. But for the next 2 hours, you've got Gabby for your entertainment.
Drag queen in the adventures of Priscilla, Queen of the Desert in 1994. BBC News, it's 4:03.
And our love and thoughts with Terence Stamp's friends and family, of course. And now it's time for the latest travel with Fiona.
Thank you, Gabby. In Merstham, the A23 Brighton Road remains closed northbound from Churchill to Coulsdon at the A237. That's for accident investigation work. It also means that the M23 is closed northbound from Junction 8 at the M25 through to Junction 7. Do expect delays in the Merstham and Coulsdon areas. We've got queues for the M25 clockwise approaching Junction 1B at Dartford after a recent collision. Vehicles have been moved to the hard shoulder, and it continues to be slow for the M25 clockwise from junction 15 at the M4 through to 16 at the M40 following a vehicle fire. In Plaistow, Prince Regent Lane, the A112 remains blocked both ways between Gad Close and the A124, the Barking Road, because of an emergency services incident. Bus routes 262 and the 473 are on diversion. And in Ilford, watch out for delays for the A12 and the A123 approaching the Gants Hill roundabout. Earlier on, the eastern half of the roundabout was cordoned off by police, but the cordon and the cones have been removed. And in Twickenham, York Street remains closed between Aragon Road and the A310, the London Road. That's following a building fire. Earlier on, 65 fighters tackled the fire. Buses are still on diversion. Some of these are the R68, the R70 and the 33. And footy traffic, expect some footy traffic soon in Fulham as the A304 Fulham Road remains closed between Harwood Road and Finborough Road because of the Chelsea and Crystal Palace match at Stamford Bridge. The Woolwich Ferry has just one boat running because of a technical fault, and on the trains there are 15-minute delays for Avanti West Coast and London North Western between Milton Keynes Central Watford Junction following a line-side fire, and delays for Southern and Thameslink between Gatwick and Redhill after a points failure. Fiona McKinnon, next update at past.
Got a smart speaker at home? Play BBC Radio London. Listen now. Ask your smart speaker to play BBC Radio London. Gabby Roslin. BBC
Radio London.
It's a kind of magic.